Chapter 5038. Under this finger, the entire lake was split in half. Inside the lake, the people of the illusionary flowers, water and moon were even more shocked. They felt that their surroundings were shaking. Endless power surged down, and there was even the sound of the array shattering. Damn it, what happened? Someone was attacking them. Illusionary flowers, water and moon. Who was it? Was it a powerhouse from the second level? Go out and take a look. For a moment, many powerhouses rushed out and shouted angrily. However, when they saw a Daoist on the lake, they were all stunned when he used a finger to shatter the surroundings. Heavens, what kind of person was this? His strength was simply too strong. Nero also rushed out. When she saw the figure in front of her, her pupils suddenly shrank. Abyss of dead souls, you actually came here. As soon as these words came out, the others were also stunned. Abyss of dead souls, this name was like thunder to their ears. This was the #1 genius of the undead clan. In the underworld, he could be ranked in the top 5. His strength was definitely terrifying. It was just that they had never seen him before. They didn't expect that the mysterious man in front of them was actually Abyss of dead souls. No wonder he was so terrifying. He did have such strength. Nero's expression became incomparably ugly. What was he doing here? She didn't know, but she knew that with their strength, they couldn't resist at all. This matter could only be reported to the leader of the illusionary flowers, water and moon. In fact, there was no need for them to say anything. A mirror flew out from inside. The mirror was incomparably simple. In the sky, a pair of eyes appeared. He stared at the front and asked, Abyss of dead souls, has our illusionary flowers, water and moon offended you? Why are you here? A biting cold murderous intent appeared in Abyss of dead souls' eyes. The monkey who came to my undead clan before is related to your illusionary flowers, water and moon, right? Do you know where he is? Also, the man who destroyed my palace earlier is called Lin Wudi. He seems to be from your illusionary flowers, water and moon. Tell him to come out and die. I don't know the monkey you're talking about. As for Lin Wudi, he is indeed from our illusionary flowers, water and moon. However, since he joined our illusionary flowers, there has been no trace of him for 10 years. We don't know where he is. Perhaps he has already left the underworld. Left? The dead soul's abyss snorted coldly. With a stomp of his foot, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire lake below instantly turned into a black hole of nothingness. The pupils of the surrounding people shrank. The cold voice of the dead spirit's abyss rang out. Lin Wudi dares to go against my dead spirit clan. He will die without a doubt. Not only that, all his friends who were related to him would go to hell. Who among you has a good relationship with him? The cold gaze of the dead soul's abyss swept over. It was like a sharp heavenly blade. Wherever it passed, the sages of the catoptric deflection coughed up mouthfuls of blood. He kept retreating. Some of them even had their bodies shattered. They lowered their heads deeply, and no one dared to resist. The other party's gaze was too strong. Just one look was enough to kill them. Nero's expression turned ugly. Because in the entire catoptric deflection, only she and Lin Xian had a special relationship. Although it was said to be extraordinary, the truth was that they had only formed a team together to explore the 3rd level of hell. Even so, it still attracted the attention of countless people. The dead soul's abyss also turned his head, stared at Nero, and said with a frown, You're Lin Wudi's friend. As soon as these words came out, everyone's heart trembled. They looked at Nero with sympathy in their eyes. They knew that Nero was finished. Nero took a deep breath and said with gritted teeth, I'm not his friend, but I've experienced life and death battles with him. Nero's voice was sonorous. The Dead Soul's Abyss laughed. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Nero said, I'm telling the truth. You can kill me, but you can't make me submit. I belong to the Bridge of Helplessness. Bridge of Helplessness, I'm really surprised that there's a woman like you. I admire you very much. Under other circumstances, I might have asked you to consider following me. I'll let you enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. Unfortunately, you know Lin Woody. And you have a special relationship with him. In that case, don't blame me for making a move. The Dead Soul's Abyss raised a finger and pointed forward. The faces of the surrounding people became extremely pale. Nero even shouted angrily. She waved her hand and threw out a bridge of helplessness. She stood on the bridge, surrounded by an endless abyss. He tried to resist. However, he couldn't stop it at all. The endless laws in Nero's hand condensed and formed a rune. She waved it forward. It shattered the bridge of helplessness in an instant. It pointed between Nero's eyebrows. A gray rune instantly formed between her eyebrows. It carried an extremely strong aura. Nero's face instantly became incomparably pale. She felt that her life was rapidly disappearing. This is the soul-seizing rune, the ultimate skill of my Dead Soul clan. If you're hit by it, your life will quickly disappear. It won't be long before you become an old woman. In the end, you will die in despair. Everyone's scalps went numb when they heard this. To be honest, with the Dead Soul's Abyss's methods, killing Nero, it couldn't be any simpler. It could be said that he could kill her in an instant. However, the other party didn't do so. The other party's methods were obviously torture. Turning a beautiful fairy into an ugly existence. Moreover, the daily torture of her soul and the disappearance of her life could be said to be more desperate than death. Nero was in despair. She realized that she couldn't resist this power at all. The scalps of the surrounding people also went numb. At this moment, the Dead Soul's Abyss attacked again. A gray flag appeared in his hand and danced wildly. Endless resentful spirits flew out and attacked the surrounding saints. The entire catoptric deflection was enveloped. The next moment, they felt their souls split open as if they were about to be torn apart. Even that simple and unadorned mirror had lost its luster. The Dead Soul's Abyss said, "From now on, each of you will suffer the pain of your soul being torn apart. Until death. During this period, no one can relieve your pain. Besides me, there is one more person, and that is Lin Woody. As long as he appears, I can spare you. Otherwise, you can wait for death in despair. Go find Lin Woody and tell him that I'm waiting for him in hell." The Dead Soul's Abyss sneered and left. Since Lin Woody was a member of the catoptric deflection, these people must have a way to contact him. When the other party appeared, he would kill him with his own hands. The Dead Soul's Abyss left. The people of the catoptric deflection were in despair. They let out painful screams. Nero's body also shook. A demonic black flower appeared on the mirror of the leader of the catoptric deflection. She let out a crazy roar. Hurry up and contact Lin Woody. Chapter 5039. This news also spread quickly. Everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Dead Soul's Abyss was going to make a move again. If they couldn't find that monkey, they would probably find Lin Woody. They didn't know much about Lin Woody. They only knew that the other party was from the catoptric deflection. And he was the one who destroyed the undead clan's palace for the first time. Although it was shocking, compared to the Dead Soul's Abyss, it was still too far away. The Dead Soul's Abyss was the top genius in the underworld. His strength was unparalleled. Everyone even regarded him as a young great emperor. Who could fight against such a person? Although he lost to the monkey last time, everyone thought that it was just an accident. Because the monkey's eyes restrained the entire underworld, the Dead Soul's abyss was not considered defeated. And in these few years, the other party must have found a way to resist that pair of eyes. This time, even if he met the monkey again, he probably wouldn't lose again. As for this Lin Wuti, everyone wasn't optimistic. Not only that, this time, the undead clan seemed to want to thoroughly wipe away their previous shame. Last time, they had been defeated and their temporary residence had been destroyed. This had caused them to lose all face and prestige. This time, they were here to re-establish their reputation. Therefore, apart from the Dead Soul's abyss, they also pushed out a top genius. Phantom. A woman, the younger sister of the Dead Soul's abyss. Her talent was also very strong. At this moment, the Phantom came to the underworld and began to challenge these powerhouses in the underworld. She even began to sweep the top geniuses of other families. All of a sudden, all kinds of news spread out. The genius of Slaughter Temple was defeated in 3 moves by the Phantom. The people of Blood Fiend sect were defeated in 5 moves. Those powerhouses of the underworld also couldn't withstand 10 moves. Countless people were shocked. How could this woman be so powerful? She was a soul illusion, and her attack was too strong. A pair of eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. No one was his match. Exclamations sounded one after another. In a short period of time, Phantom had emerged as a new force to be reckoned with, which shocked everyone. At the same time, they also knew that the undead clan was too strong. Although they suffered a loss before, the appearance this time showed that the other party's foundation was very strong. Apart from the number 1 genius of the other party, the other geniuses were also very terrifying. For a moment, the people of the underworld were terrified. They swore that they would never be enemies with the undead clan again. At the same time, they began to worry about catoptric deflection and even Lin Xian. Even the younger sister of the Dead Soul's abyss was so terrifying. Then how terrifying was the Death Soul abyss? Most likely, if he were to make a move, all the geniuses would be insta-killed. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Over the past month, countless messages are flying. Those people had endured a month of pain. During this month, their souls had been devoured every moment of every day. They all had to endure that kind of torment, especially Nero. She was once a beautiful woman, but at this moment, she seemed to have turned into a skeleton. She did not even have a proper appearance. The demonic mirror roared madly. Lin Wuti hasn't been contacted yet. Is he not here yet? Some people are desperate. Yes, they had already contacted him. However, he had probably received the news long ago. Knowing that the Dead Soul's abyss wanted to kill him, he had probably fled long ago. Yes, we have been contacting him every day for the past month. They had arrived a long time ago. Now that he has not come, it means that the other party is afraid. The other party is not a match for the Dead Soul's abyss at all. The other party has run away, but we have to endure despair. Not only them, but everyone was paying attention. For the past month, Lin Wuti's figure had not appeared at all. Some people sneered. What Lin Wuti? He was too arrogant. He dared to call himself invincible? That's right, he didn't even dare to come out now. How could he fight against the Dead Soul's abyss? What a joke. He was no match for them at all. The people of the undead clan snorted coldly. That Lin Wuti used despicable means to destroy our palace. We were careless. If we fought head-on, he was no match for us at all. Come out if you have the guts. We can kill him with a slap. The Phantom also spoke. My brother doesn't need to make a move. My eyes can kill him instantly. One voice after another sounded. At this moment, the reputation of the undead clan reached its peak. Everyone had to look up to them. At this moment, Lin Xian was still on the third level of the underworld. He had just cultivated the demon summoning scripture. After coming out, he naturally had to show its power. At this moment, he came to an ancient tomb. There was an extremely terrifying existence in the ancient tomb. A skeleton flew out. It had the cultivation of the great sage. The skeleton stretched out its claws, covering the sky and the earth. It seemed to want to tear everything apart. Lin Xian slapped out with his palm. Demon God Seal. He drew a huge seal with his palm and blasted it forward. A casual blow shattered heaven and earth. In front of him, the skeleton of the great sage was instantly torn apart. It couldn't withstand it at all. Its body and soul were destroyed. Lin Xian retracted his palm, and the corners of his mouth raised. Too powerful. Previously, he was very strong. However, if he wanted to kill a person of the great sage without using his trump card, he had to go all out. But now, he only needed one move to kill a great sage. His strength was 10 times stronger than before. As expected of the great emperor's ancient scripture. It was really terrifying. He had only cultivated it for 10 years. If he cultivated it for a longer time, then his power could increase again. He would try other supernatural powers. Lin Xian had cultivated more than one supernatural power in the demon summoning scripture. At this moment, he wanted to try them one by one. Demon God Wings. At this moment, a pair of black wings appeared on his back and gently flapped. He instantly disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in an endless distance. So fast. Lin Xian was surprised. He had cultivated the shadowless heavens net before, but the straight-line distance of the shadowless heavens net couldn't compare to the demon god wings. Of course, it didn't mean that the shadowless heavens net was useless. After all, the shadowless heavens net was also a great emperor's supernatural power. The effect of the shadowless heavens net was better. That kind of elusive movement technique could immediately make the enemy collapse. Just like that, Lin Xian began to display the various martial arts he cultivated on the third level. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. During this month, the people on the first level of the underworld were in an uproar. They had even learned that the illusionary flower, Water Moon, had suffered a desperate blow because of Lin Wudi. The illusionary flower, Water Moon, was really unlucky to have something to do with Lin Wudi. It was said that they had to endure the pain of their souls every day. Someone sneered. Not only that, it was said that the beautiful fairy of the underworld had become like a skeleton. This was even worse than killing her. That Lin Wudi still didn't dare to come out. Coward, what right did he have to call himself invincible? One after another, cold shouts could be heard. A month later. On the third level of the underworld, Lin Xian retracted his palm. Around him, a cave abode was directly shattered. It was split open by his sword. There were a few mid-stage great sage inside, but all of them had fallen. Who was this person? He was too strong. On the third level of the underworld, there were also some explorers at this moment. When they saw this scene, they were incomparably terrified. If it weren't for the fact that the Death Souls Abyss was still on the first level, they would have thought that the other party had come. Who was this person? The demonic chi on his body was so terrifying. Chapter 50-40. At this moment, Lin Xian took out the demonic flower. It was a black flower. It was the keepsake given to him by the illusionary flower, Water and Moon. It was also a symbol of his status in the illusionary flower, Water and Moon. Previously, he had ignored it after he came out because he didn't have time. Now, he finally had some free time. After he took it out, countless messages came from inside. They were all summoning him. Was there a problem with the illusionary flower, water and moon? Lin Xian was surprised. He didn't think too much about it. At this moment, his figure flickered and flew into the distance. When he joined the illusionary flower, water and moon, he already knew that there were some difficult missions that required everyone to do together. Perhaps this time, the illusionary flower, water and moon summoned him for a certain mission. A pair of black wings spread out on his back and swayed gently. Lin Xian turned into a black bolt of lightning and streaked through the void. On the third level of the underworld, some people were terrified. Some great sage and even existences of the great sage realm narrowed their eyes. What was that just now? Did you see it? Why did I feel that a black bolt of lightning flashed past? Was it a human? Impossible. Who could be so fast? This speed had already exceeded their understanding. Lin Xian used the demon god's wings. Not long after, he arrived at the exit of the third level. Soon, he went out. He entered the second level. The people on the second level were also shocked. On this day, they saw a bolt of lightning flash past. They could only see an afterimage. When they looked carefully, it had already disappeared. Who was it? Had a peerless expert come? On the first level of the underworld. Catoptric deflection. Those people were already in despair. They no longer had any hope for Lin Wudi. However, on this day, a figure descended. What's going on? Are you guys under attack? A faint voice sounded. Those people in the illusionary flower, water and moon suddenly raised their heads. They saw a man in a black robe walking over. This man was tall and straight, his face was handsome, and his eyes were deep and bottomless. Who was this person? Many people were puzzled. They had never seen him before. However, some people's pupils shrank. You're here. The burly man roared, Lin Wudi, you finally appeared. As soon as these words were said, the surrounding people were stunned. What? Lin Wudi. He was actually Lin Wudi. Countless people were shocked, feeling that this was inconceivable. Nero stared ahead as tears flowed from her eyes. At this moment, her beautiful features were no longer there. She looked like a skeleton. But she seemed to see hope. Lin Xian had created many kinds of records. Back then, Lin Xian had entered Azura's ruins. That was a land of death, and no one had ever come out of it successfully. However, Lin Xian did it. This time, would Lin Xian be able to survive the crisis before him? He didn't know, but he decided to trust the other party. The mirror was also stunned. Inside, there was a pair of eyes and a black flower that kept spinning. It was also shocking to the extreme. The reason for that was because he was able to sense that although Lin Xian's appearance had not changed, the aura he emitted had become even more profound. It was as if the other party was an ancient demonic beast that could erupt with boundless power at any time. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. He could see that the souls of the people around him had been severely damaged. There was a force that was devouring their souls. Especially when he saw a figure with white hair and a skeletal face. His pupils constricted violently. If he wasn't wrong, this should be Nero. The previous Nero was a beautiful woman who could turn the world upside down. But now, she had turned into a skeleton. Who was it? How could they do such a vicious thing? Lin Xian was instantly furious. Nero had gone through some battles and missions with him before. She could be considered his friend. But now, someone was treating her like this. What was going on? Lin Xian frowned and asked. At this moment, the burly man from before told him what had happened. Lin Xian was also furious. It was the Death Soul's Abyss who had done it. He had heard of the name Death Soul's Abyss more than once. He knew that it was the #1 genius of the Necromancer clan, but he had never seen it before. 10 years ago, he had even set up a trap to trick the other party. But thinking about it, that trap didn't cause much damage to the other party. But what happened later surprised Lin Xian. It turned out that Monkey King had already appeared. And he had fought with the Death Soul's Abyss once and injured it. Later, the great sage of the Necromancer clan took Sun Qitian away with a super sacred weapon. Monkey King should have left the underworld. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief, but then his face darkened again. The Necromancer clan couldn't find Sun Qitian, so they came to find him. Did they want to kill him to make a name for themselves? Was he, Lin Xian, a pushover? His eyes were emitting an extremely terrifying killing intent. Death Soul's Abyss, was it? You want to fight with me? As you wish. Lin Xian's eyes were emitting a golden light. He said, "Don't worry, the torture you suffered was caused by me. I will heal you. And I will kill the Death Soul's Abyss." The golden flames in his eyes flew in all directions, piercing through heaven and earth. When those resentful spirits saw the flames, they immediately roared crazily and wanted to escape. But they were burned to ashes in an instant. The people in the catoptric deflection were all stunned. They felt that the power that tortured their souls had disappeared. God, what kind of power was this? They looked at Lin Xian in shock. Previously, they had blamed Lin Xian and even hated Lin Xian. But now, all those feelings were gone. They were in awe and fear. Especially when they knew that the Death Soul's Abyss was injured by a pair of golden eyes. Now, Lin Xian also had golden eyes. God, could it be that his eyes and the monkey's were the same kind of supernatural power? They were shocked. Lin Xian used the heavenly secret godly eyes and the fire of reincarnation to save these people. Then he stared at Nero and said, "Don't worry, I will restore your appearance." The people around Nero were in trouble. Those people's souls were only devoured by the resentful spirits. He only needed to kill the resentful spirits. But Nero was different. Nero's power was similar to a curse. Not only did it hurt the soul, but it also left the vitality in the body. This method was indeed vicious. In Nero's case, even the people in the catoptric deflection couldn't break it. But for Lin Xian, it wasn't a problem at all. No matter what happens next, don't resist. Lin Xian looked at Nero and said in a deep voice. Nero nodded, tears flowing out of her eyes. Lin Xian waved his hand, and a dragon-shaped sword energy appeared in his palm and came to his fingertip. He pointed at Nero's forehead. Nero's body shook, and pain appeared on her face. The black talisman on her forehead seemed to have drawn a ghost head, and it bared its fangs and claws to bite. But in an instant, it was pierced by Lin Xian's finger. The great dragon sword soul's indestructible power split the black ghost head apart. The talisman also dimmed and cracked from the middle. Lin Xian's 5 fingers stretched out, and his entire palm turned into a dragon head, grabbing at the other party. Chapter 50-41. After the black phantom was pulled out, Nero felt that her life was no longer flowing away. He looked ahead in horror. The black phantom bared its fangs and brandished its claws, pouncing on Lin Xian like a demon. Oh no! Nero cried out in alarm. The other's pupils also constricted. This thing had tortured Nero for a long time. If it enveloped Lin Xian now, Lin Xian would probably be tortured too. Lin Xian shouted coldly. Such a thing could not enter his body at all. He activated the 9-yang divine body, which shone like the sun. When the black phantom touched the divine fire, it burned. He let out a miserable cry. Looking at the flame, his expression became terrified. Even Nero and the others from the catoptric deflection felt their scalps go numb. What was this flame? It seemed to be a natural counter to them. Why would such a person come to the underworld with the power of the heavens and the power of the sun? They cried out in alarm. Now they knew that Lin Xian might not be from the underworld at all, but from another starry sky. The 9-yang divine fire burned fiercely, turning into a sun that kept crushing the phantom. The black phantom burned directly into the black phantom and turned into nothingness. Next, Lin Xian looked ahead. He used the immortal indestructible technique to form the immortal battle armor and enveloped Nero. Nero felt a strong vitality surge into his body. His withered body, which had turned into a skeleton, began to recover rapidly. The surrounding people also widened their eyes in disbelief. Not long after, about half an hour, Nero, a skeleton, turned into a beautiful woman. Although her face was a little pale, she had almost recovered. Lin Xian said as he put away the immortal battle armor. There should be no problem, right? Nero took out a mirror and looked at herself carefully. She found that her face had returned to normal. She was so excited that she was about to cry. Thank you, young Master Lin. She looked at Lin Xian with endless gratitude, wishing that she could repay him with her body. Lin Xian said, most of your vitality has returned, but you are still a little weak. Eat some medicinal pills and natural treasures to recover on your own. As for thanks, there was no need for that. This happened because of me. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been tortured like this. Therefore, it is only right for me to save you. And that dead soul's abyss, I won't let it go either. I will let him know what regret is. Tell him that I'll be waiting for him at the flaming battlefield in 10 days. In the first layer of the infernal realm, there was a land of flames. Moreover, it was an ancient battlefield. It was called the Scarlet Flame Battlefield. He had been there before, and it was very suitable for this battle. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to fight to the death there. Nero took a deep breath. The others were also shocked. Were they really going to make a move? From the looks of it, Lin Wudy did not seem to be afraid of the Death Soul's abyss at all. She said, young Master Lin, you have to be careful. The Death Soul's abyss is extremely powerful and is known as the Uncrowned King. He was no weaker than the Crown Prince. Some people even said that he would definitely become a true great emperor. No matter how strong he was not an imperial prince. Therefore, he was not afraid. Lin Xian was going to challenge the Dragon Prince, so he planned to start with the Death Soul's abyss. He wanted to test his strength. The Death Soul's abyss should be second only to the Crown Prince. In fact, he was already capable of contending with the Crown Prince. Thus, he was the perfect opponent for the Crown Prince. Okay, I see. Nero and the others nodded and then quickly spread the news. In an instant, the news spread throughout the first layer of the infernal realm. It swept out in all directions. Soon, the people on the second and third layers of the infernal realm knew. Not only the infernal realm, but also the whole infernal realm knew. Countless experts of the sects and families in the infernal realm were shocked. 10 days later, at the flaming battlefield. Let's go. I must go and watch the battle. I want to see how strong the Death Soul's abyss is. I also want to see if Lin Wudy has the right to be so arrogant. He dares to fight to the death with the Death Soul's abyss. Discussions were heard one after another. Everyone was rushing to the flaming battlefield. The flaming battlefield. This was an ancient battlefield. The great earth here was covered in cracks, the surface extremely high temperature. There were flames burning in the surroundings and in the air. After entering, the weak ones would be easily burned to ashes. Countless people had already returned to the battlefield. Most people were watching from outside the flaming battlefield. After all, the temperature inside was too high. At this moment, Linglong Shui also came. Hanya also came. They looked at each other. Linglong Shui walked over and said, "Have you heard? The Death Soul's Abyss and Lin Wudi are fighting. Do you think it's him?" Hanya took a deep breath. Is it Master Lin? One had to know that they had previously recruited a top-notch genius called Lin Wudi. But was this Lin Wudi the one who challenged the Death Soul's Abyss? He was not sure. Hanya said, they should have the same name. No matter how strong Master Lin was, it would be difficult for him to resist the attack of the Death Soul's Abyss. He might not even be able to make one move. Linglong Shui sighed. Yes, he's really too strong. He's stronger than us. How many people can compete with him? There were no more than 5 people in the younger generation who could contend with him. At this moment, a deep voice was heard. Linglong Shui turned around. Is father here too? She saw the Blood Fiend Saint walk over. Beside him, Hanya bowed. Greetings, Saint. The Blood Fiend Saint looked at Hanya and said, your father didn't come. Before Hanya could answer, laughter came from afar. How could I not come? The Soul Saint also came. He floated over. Countless people bowed. The two great sage came together. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to this battle. Are you talking about that kid? The Blood Fiend Saint asked. The Soul Saint was shocked. Impossible. That kid isn't even a great sage. I know the Death Soul's Abyss's strength. He even dared to challenge a saint. He's definitely powerful. Even the two great sage didn't believe that Lin Wudi was the person they knew. At this moment, Hanya said, let's wait and see. It won't take long. That Lin Wudi will come. At that time, we'll know whether it's him or not. A few people nodded. They occupied a good spot and prepared to watch. Then, more and more people came. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent appeared between heaven and earth. It made everyone's scalp go numb. Even the Blood Fiend Saint and the Soul Saint looked at each other. Is he here too? They thought of someone. At this moment, a figure walked over from the battlefield. It was the Death Soul's Abyss. He stood there, surrounded by countless large flags that froze heaven and earth. The flames on the flaming battlefield couldn't hurt him at all. The surrounding people were shocked to see this. The Death Soul's Abyss was indeed powerful. Chapter 50-42. The Dead Soul's Abyss stood in the flaming battlefield and his eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the world. He said coldly. Since you're here, come out, Mo Qiansha. Hearing this, the others were also shocked. Mo Qiansha was also here. He was the top genius assassin of Sand Saint Hall. In the next moment, the void fluctuated and a figure appeared. Countless people were terrified, and even those of the older generation were frowning. So terrifying. He had already practiced Shadowless Sky's net to an extremely high level. I couldn't even tell when he arrived. If he hadn't deliberately released his killing intent, we wouldn't have known who killed us even if we were killed. Voices rang out one after another. Mo Qiansha stood in the void and looked down as he said. It seems that no matter how hard I cultivate, I can't hide from you. The Dead Soul's Abyss said, you're already very powerful. Apart from me, there are no more than 5 people in the younger generation who can resist your assassination. This was already an extremely high evaluation. The surrounding people were shocked. These two young geniuses were enough to sweep through everything. Even those of the older generation were ashamed of their inferiority. At this moment, the dead soul's abyss waved his hand and said, "Ling, come here." In the distance, another figure walked over. It was a woman. She looked ordinary, but no one dared to look down on her. Especially her eyes, which were strange and terrifying. One look at them would make one's scalp tingle. She should be the younger sister of the dead soul's abyss, called Huanling. Mo Qiansha was also shocked when he saw her eyes. What a terrifying pair of eyes. She should be cultivating the fantasy world spirit eyes. The dead soul's abyss nodded. Yes, it's this kind of eye technique. Mo Qiansha said, "It seems that there's one more person alive, a powerful enemy. My shadowless sky's net is in her eyes and I might not be able to dodge it completely. She might be able to easily locate me." Hearing this, everyone was shocked again. How could this woman's eyes be so terrifying? Shadowless sky's net was a divine ability of a great emperor. Apart from Mo Qiansha, more people came, such as the top geniuses of the Bridge of Helplessness. The top experts of Granny Meng's faction and the 10 Kings of Hell also came. These were the top geniuses of the younger generation. Each of them stood there like a demon god. With all these people gathered together, countless people felt immense pressure. They knew that the world would belong to these people in the future. Even Shui Linglong, Hanya, and the others felt an enormous pressure as they chatted together. Although they were strong, compared to those geniuses in front of them, they were still a little lacking. They belonged to the second tier. As for the people at the front, they were all at the very top. The Death Soul Abyss was even above these top geniuses. Thus, defeating him or even challenging him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. About half a day later, someone suddenly came from afar. Some people stopped talking because they realized that the people who had come were from the illusionary flowers, reflected moon. Many people looked over, and then their pupils constricted. Were these people already healed? After all, they knew that they had been tortured for the past few months. Every single one of them was severely injured, and it was a fate worse than death. But now, all of them had recovered, and they were all in high spirits. Who was it? What kind of method? Let these people recover. Could it really be Lin Wudi? Countless people were puzzled. Nero also came. She said loudly, "Lin Wudi will be here soon." Hearing this, the surrounding people quieted down. Lin Wudi was really coming. Countless people looked into the distance. Shui Linglong, Hanya, and even the 2 great sage monarchs looked through the world. They wanted to know if Lin Wudi was the person they knew. In the next moment, they saw a man with demon chi walking over. This person was like a real demon god that had awakened. He walked very slowly, but in the blink of an eye, he arrived at the battlefield. His power instantly tore the flames of the flaming battlefield apart. This person's aura was so terrifying. Countless people were shocked. It was the first time for many people to see him. Was he Lin Wudi? His demon chi was so strong. Was he from the demon realm? One after another, discussions broke out. Shui Linglong frowned. "I don't remember young Master Lin having such a terrifying demon chi. Could it be that he had been hiding it before?" Hanya also said he wasn't sure. He turned to the person next to him and said, "Father, what do you think?" Soul Sage Monarch used his soul to examine him. He said, "Judging from his face, he should be the young Master Lin we know. But his aura seems to be different from before. So I'm not sure." He really wasn't sure. It was only 10 years. Logically speaking, it was difficult to change a person's aura. But now, this person's demon chi was too shocking. Of course, he didn't know that Lin Xian had been cultivating the ancient scripture of earth for the past 10 years, so he naturally had a monstrous demon chi. The top geniuses in front of them all turned their heads. Countless gazes pierced the sky. The void around Lin Xian kept shattering. Lin Xian, on the other hand, simply stood there, unmoved. These top geniuses were powerful. With so many gazes, it was terrifying. But why would Lin Xian be afraid? An even more terrifying aura appeared in his eyes. Their gazes collided. Heaven and earth cracked. A bottomless abyss appeared in front of them. Everyone, this is my battle with him. Please stand aside and watch. Death Soul's abyss walked over and said in a deep voice. The other top geniuses all retreated. Only 2 figures were left on the battlefield. Are you Lin Wudi, the one who destroyed the palace of our undead clan? Death Soul's abyss said in a deep voice. His voice almost extinguished the flames on the flaming battlefield. Yes, I am. Your undead clan deserves to die. Not only did you want to kill me, but you also attacked my friends. I won't let you off. If you have any last words, leave them. After speaking, Lin Xian's eyes flashed with a terrifying killing intent. The surrounding demon chi was monstrous, as if it had turned into a roaring demon dragon. The flaming battlefield kept shaking. It couldn't withstand this power. The demon chi rushed forward, turned into a demon sword, and pierced the sky. It slashed toward Death Soul's abyss. Death Soul's Melody's face darkened. He shouted coldly and kicked. A huge soul phantom appeared, blotting out the sky. To fight against it. The 2 sides collided. Countless cracks appeared on the ground and spread in all directions. The surrounding people kept retreating, exclaiming in surprise. What a terrifying power! After blocking the demonic chi that filled the sky, the abyss of dead souls waved its hand and tore the void apart. He said, "You have some strength. No wonder you dare to return to my palace." Chapter 50-43. Death Soul's abyss's eyes shone brightly. He found that his opponent was a worthy opponent. His 10 years of searching for him had not been in vain. Take this. Death Soul's abyss waved his hand and slapped out. The gray palm was shattered. The flames on the flaming battlefield formed a space zone. This palm was too terrifying. Even the people in the distance could feel the immense pressure. Their scalps went numb. They knew that even if the great sage was in the intermediate stage, he would be torn apart in an instant. Lin Xian snorted coldly and struck out with the 6-path fist. It was unstoppable and invincible. His will was so powerful that it seemed to be able to penetrate the universe. Boom! Boom! Their attacks collided and burst out with dazzling divine light like lightning. The entire battlefield was completely lit up. The spectators were terrified, especially the young geniuses. They felt despair. It was their sorrow to be in the same era as such people. The older generation figures also shook their heads and sighed in their inferiority. They realized that these 2 young people had already surpassed them. Now, the world was theirs. After one strike, their divine powers were all shattered. They were evenly matched. You're capable enough to resist my move. You'll die if you take my next move. Death Soul's abyss laughed. He waved his hand and struck out another attack. It was a large flag fluttering in the wind. He slashed down and split the world in half. This was not an ordinary attack. Not only was it powerful, but it also contained endless resentful spirits. Their crazy roars could affect the soul of a sage. If the great sage was careless, his soul would be torn to pieces in an instant. Lin Xian was also surprised. Death Soul's Abyss's strength was beyond his imagination. Death Soul's Abyss was worthy of being called a top genius. He deserved to go all out. He took a deep breath and slashed out with his sword. Black Devil Chi quickly condensed and formed a sword of law. He held it in his hand. The power of the great dragon sword's soul gushed out and was invincible. He slashed out with his sword. The entire battlefield shook and was split in half. This sword seemed to be able to destroy the world. This time, even Death Soul's Abyss's expression changed. The power of this sword was too strong, beyond his imagination. He quickly retreated. After one strike, the flaming battlefield was split open. Those who were watching the battle from afar were incomparably shocked. What kind of sword technique was this? Lin Xian stood above the 9 heavens like a sword god. He looked down and said coldly, "Didn't you say you were going to kill me? What, you don't dare to do it now? Bring out your true strength." He swung his sword again. The dead spirit roared. The Dead Soul's Abyss bellowed furiously and spat out a voice that filled the sky, causing the entire world to split apart. Endless runes erupted from his body as he activated his bloodline power. It had the body of an undead spirit, and its strength was incomparable. At this moment, it attacked with all its strength. Lin Xian was still not afraid. He brandished his sword and swept through the 9 heavens. His figure was as powerful as a fiend god. Every strike of his sword could shatter heaven and earth. The sound that filled the sky was continuously split apart by his sword technique. Lin Xian strode over. He was already less than 100 meters away from Yuan 40. This distance was negligible. The Dead Soul's Abyss snorted coldly. "Do you think my killing move is just these sounds? You're too naive. The real killing move is here." He formed a seal with his hands, and at some point, large gray flags appeared around him. There were a total of 36 of them, and they covered the world. At the same time, they enveloped Lin Xian. This was his killing move. Lin Xian stood in the field, looking around, unmoved. He said, "Formation. You can't do anything to me." His body bloomed with a terrifying aura. 9 suns' divine fire swept out. It burned in all directions. 9 suns rotated between heaven and earth. The flames overflowed the flaming battlefield and kept burning. Those who were watching the battle from afar were also shocked. "God, what kind of flame is this? Why do I feel that it's more terrifying than the flames on the flaming battlefield? This guy has so many trump cards." Cries of surprise could be heard one after another. The Dead Soul's Abyss also frowned. He also felt a threatening flame. It was the power of the purest yang, which was completely opposite to his cold power. It was born to restrain him. Damn it. He had thought that the opponent was from the netherworld, but now it seemed that was not the case. He was from another starry sky world. Moreover, he had seen this kind of terrifying power once before. It was the monkey. Previously, the monkey's eyes had pierced through him. Now, he had encountered this flame. It made him angry. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "I hate this kind of power the most. I'll tear you to pieces." The aura of death on the 36 flags melted under the light of the 9 suns. It melted like ice and snow, unable to get close to Lin Xian. Lin Xian shouted angrily and attacked one of the flags. The flag swayed, and cracks appeared on it. The Dead Soul's Abyss's pupils shrank. He shouted angrily, "How dare you!" He knew that he could not be careless anymore. His palms kept forming seals. The 36 flags shone brightly, and a rune of law appeared on each of them. The 36 runes were different, and they shone together. Ancient Rune of Curse. With a roar, the 36 runes shone brightly, and all kinds of terrifying power surged out. This was the power of the curse, forming a cursed space. Lin Xian felt a huge threat inside, as if there was an invisible force that wanted to destroy it. Lin Xian shouted coldly and used the 9-yang divine body to the extreme. He waved his fist, and 9 suns swept between heaven and earth. It burned and melted everything. A flag shattered and turned into nothingness. Following that, the remaining banners were also destroyed. Lin Xian waved his fist, and the 36 flags were shattered by him one after another. However, that terrifying aura still did not disappear. The Dead Soul's Abyss sneered. Lin Wuti, you underestimate me too much. Once this ancient rune is out, it is no longer attached to the flag. Even if my Dead Soul's flag is destroyed, this ancient rune will not be destroyed. You will fall under the curse. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. In the distance, Phantom also smiled. He knew that his brother was in a battle and would definitely win. The others were also discussing spiritedly. It seemed that the Dead Soul's Abyss's skill was a level higher. Lin Wuti was finished. The undead clan was extremely confident that no one would be able to escape from such a killing move. Not good. Linglong Shui, Hanya, and the others' expressions changed. The 2 great sage lords also frowned. Lin Wuti, how are you going to break such a killing move? To be honest, they were all worried for Lin Xian at this moment. Unless Lin Xian had an even stronger trump card, he was really in danger this time. Chapter 50-44. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian was still not afraid. He waved the long sword in his hand with an aura that could destroy everything, resisting those ancient runes. The power of the dragon-shaped sword Qi was boundless. Standing on those ancient runes. The ancient runes kept dimming, and more than a dozen of them cracked open, while the others were also shattered. Is this your method? If you don't have other unique skills, you can't beat me. Lin Xian looked disdainfully in all directions, like a sword god descending. The abyss of Dead Soul's face became a little dark. To be honest, he never thought that the other party could break his divine ability so easily. The power of these ancient runes was very terrifying. Even the great sage was no match for it. He would definitely fall in despair. However, the other party easily broke it with a few sword moves, which shocked him. It seemed that the other party's strength was beyond his expectations, especially his sword technique, which was unheard of. Good boy, it seems that I have really underestimated you. In that case, then you will suffer despair next. The abyss of Dead Soul's eyes burst out with an extremely terrifying light. Obviously, he was going to use his strongest unique skill. Illusory Spirit Formation. Terrifying runes flew out from his body one after another, sweeping across all directions, flashing between heaven and earth, instantly forming a powerful formation. There was an extremely terrifying soul power flying out from it, charging towards Lin Xian. This power was even more terrifying than the ancient runes from before. Lin Xian's expression was cold, waving his sword Qi, sweeping in all directions, shattering all the soul power. He said, "Is that all? You are really disappointing. Boy, don't be arrogant, my unique skill is not something you can imagine. You will see it later." The abyss of Dead Souls snorted coldly, forming a seal with his palm, and immediately those shattered runes gathered again. An extremely cold aura was emitted from inside. A terrifying cold wind blew out. This cold wind was as if it was blowing out from the 18 levels of hell, making one's hair stand on end. After blowing past, the surrounding void kept shattering, unable to resist at all. The others also felt their scalps go numb, and their faces were filled with horror. What kind of formation was this? Some people frowned. Could it be that the rumors were true? Legend has it that this formation was made up of winds taken from the 18 layers of hell. It was extremely terrifying, and if the great sage was enveloped by it, he would definitely die. What? Was he that powerful? The others were even more shocked after hearing this. The 18 levels of hell, the deeper one went, the more terrifying it would be. The energy gathered and extracted from there would definitely exceed one's imagination. This Death Soul's abyss was truly terrifying. When the Dead Soul's abyss heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a complacent smile. He said, "How's the kid? Did you hear that? How can you resist this kind of energy?" Cold Moon Palm. A deep voice sounded out. Suddenly, an endless amount of wind transformed into a crescent moon that descended and enveloped Lin Xian. The gloomy coldness formed by this crescent moon was even more terrifying. It was as if the entire hell had descended. When the surrounding people felt it, they kept retreating. Their eyes were full of despair. It was over. No one could withstand such an attack. Some older generation figures said that the nether wind formed in this Death Soul's abyss was absolutely not from the first 3 levels. It must be below the 3rd floor. No one could compare to this kind of power, and the others were even more shocked. Most of them could not go to the 3rd floor. However, this Death Soul's abyss could actually go to the 3rd floor and below. How shocking was his strength! The young geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. Was this a top-notch genius? The gap between them and him was really too big. The Death Soul's abyss was really strong. However, that Lin Wuti was not simple either. To be able to make the Death Soul's abyss use such a unique skill, he should be proud. When this was said, the others also nodded. Yes, the sword technique he used previously was invincible. It could even kill the ancient cursed talisman. If not for the Death Soul's abyss, who had a powerful trump card, if it were anyone else, they would not have been able to withstand such sword energy. The person who said this was an elite from Yen Luo Dian. His body was filled with a black aura, causing the surrounding people to be terrified and their scalps to go numb. Needless to say, this was an extremely terrifying older generation figure. If even he said so, it was enough to show how terrifying the 2 people in front were. Everyone looked over and saw that the battle ahead was extremely terrifying. The crescent moon condensed and spun continuously, while Lin Xian waved his long sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword turned into dragon shadows one after another, sweeping across all directions. The battle between the 2 was earth-shattering. Xue Linglong, Hunya, and the others were all stunned. They could not even get close to such a battle. Not to mention fighting, they could not even block one move. At the same time, they were also shocked. Was that Lin Wuti really young Master Lin? This kind of strength was too heaven-defying. Even the 2 great sage lords gasped. If it was really Lin Wuti, then this person's strength was too heaven-defying. His future was limitless. Lin Xian, who was in front of him, kept on brandishing his sword light. He had to admit that this Death Soul's abyss was really too powerful. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. It was not that he had not seen geniuses before. In fact, he had seen many of them. He had even fought with Long Ao before. However, this Death Soul's abyss in front of him was stronger than those geniuses. In particular, the unique skills and divine abilities were truly shocking. Lin Xian guessed that the other party should be able to compete with the real Emperor's son. Such a person would be at the top no matter which era he was in. No wonder he was called a young great emperor. If he wanted to fight against such an enemy in the past, he would have to go all out. He might even fall into a very dangerous situation. Unfortunately, he was different now. The current him was no longer the same as before. He had cultivated the great emperor's inheritance, which was superior to all other places of inheritance. The unique skills inside were unimaginable to others. His strength had also undergone an earth-shattering change compared to before. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's expression became cold. A peerless formation. Then I'll let you see what a true peerless ability is. Lin Xian stretched out a finger, and an extremely terrifying black rune condensed on it. It was mysterious. Then, he pointed his finger. Boom! The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. This finger turned into a ray of demonic light and flew forward. Wherever it passed, nothing could stop it. Not only that, the demonic patterns on it flickered, causing the entire world to change. It was as if it was no longer hell, but a demonic world. What kind of ability was this? Feeling the power of this finger, the Death Soul's Abyss's expression finally changed. He kept waving his arm and condensed it again, forming a moon that kept spinning. He tried to block it. A cold wind blew from the moon, which could freeze everything. It collided with the demonic finger. Countless large cracks condensed between heaven and earth. Did he block it? The Death Soul's Abyss heaved a sigh of relief. The others were also shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to still have a unique skill. However, it should not be a match for the Death Soul's Abyss. Chapter 50-45. They realized that cracks had appeared on the surface of the cold moon formed by the chilly wind. And there were more and more of them. It was impossible to resist. Finally, with a shattering sound, the cold moon shattered. The black finger charged toward the abyss of dead souls. The abyss of dead souls' pupils shrank, and he quickly retreated, leaving behind an afterimage. The place where he was standing was directly pierced through. Not only that, but a large crack appeared on the entire battlefield, spreading into the distance. The surrounding people felt a wave of fear. If this finger was pointed at them, no one would be able to resist it. It seems that you have a trump card. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. He had also encountered a peerless enemy. He felt his blood boiling. With such an enemy, killing him would allow him to take another step on the path of martial arts. By then, no one would be able to contend with him. Thinking of this, his figure flashed, and he charged forward. The illusory spirit array erupted again. This time, 10 cold moons appeared, rotating between heaven and earth. Countless people were shocked. Could it be that the abyss of dead souls did not use all his strength before? Heaven, this is too unbelievable. The abyss of dead souls also shouted coldly. Do you know that I have been cultivating in the 4th level of hell all these years? How can you imagine what I have experienced? No one can stop me, and neither can you. His voice resounded between heaven and earth, and everyone was shocked. Heaven, the 4th level of hell, was an even more terrifying existence than the 3rd level. This abyss of dead souls could enter, and it seemed that he had stayed there for a long time. It was too unbelievable. Lin Xian snorted coldly. So what if it was the 4th level of hell? Do you think I have not improved over the years? What I have cultivated is also not something you can imagine. Speaking of this, the light on his finger exploded again. At the same time, he formed a seal with his palm, and endless demonic chi condensed, forming a huge seal. He held it in his hand and slammed it forward. Everywhere it passed, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. This attack caused hundreds of black holes to appear between heaven and earth. The light of the stars in outer space scattered down. Countless people were shocked. What kind of magic was this? It surpassed everything. Could it be the legendary Great Emperor's magic? It was too unbelievable. Where did this guy cultivate the great emperor's magic? Death Soul's Abyss, can you block this attack? Lin Xian shouted coldly as the black seal rushed forward. The great earth monarch's divine ability, Demon God Seal. Once it was used, its power would be boundless. Before the seal arrived, countless spatial cracks had already appeared in the surroundings. Dead Soul's Abyss's body went cold. He felt a threat to his life. Damn it, what a powerful divine ability. I can feel the aura of extreme Tao. Could it really be a divine ability of the great emperor? His expression became unsightly. The undead spirit source was very powerful, enough to enter the 4th level of hell. In the entire underworld, there weren't many young geniuses who could contend with him. One could say that he was very far away. However, no matter how strong he was, the divine abilities and martial arts he cultivated could not be compared to true emperor-level divine abilities. Therefore, at this moment, when facing the real demon god Seal, he was also facing a formidable enemy. The expert from the Bridge of Helplessness cried out in alarm. What a terrifying aura! I can feel my soul trembling. Could it really be the power of the extreme Tao? The theurgy of the great emperor. The soul sage sucked in a cold breath. It must be a divine ability of the great emperor. He had cultivated the earth divine ability, the Azura sword art, and the shadowless heaven's net. Naturally, he could feel the power of the great emperor's divine ability. At this moment, the aura coming from the Black Seal was extremely similar to the 2 divine abilities of the great emperor. This must be a divine ability of the great emperor. Where did Lin Wudi learn this from? They had never taught him before. The blood fiend saint also sighed. This was a true young great emperor. Hanya and Shuel Linglong were stunned as well. Their eyes were filled with shock and admiration. To be honest, they had always wanted to compete with Lin Xian. But now, it seemed that they were too naive. Lin Xian had long surpassed them. They might not even be able to block a single attack from him. The others were even more shocked as they looked ahead. Was this really a divine ability of the great emperor? It was as if the great emperor had been revived. Dead Soul's Abyss's expression was even colder. I always thought that I could contend with a true great emperor. In the entire underworld, there are no more than 5 people who can fight with me. There are no more than 3 who can make me take them seriously. And they are all top geniuses who have been famous for a long time. But I didn't expect that someone like you, who has just appeared in the underworld, could make me feel as if I'm facing a great enemy. Your attack even made me feel despair. If it was in the past, I might not be able to block it. But it's a pity that I didn't cultivate in the 4th level of the underworld for nothing. I've also cultivated my own divine ability. I'll let you see it. Spiritual energy surged in all directions. As his voice fell, heaven and earth shattered in all directions. The earth cracked open and endless flames were extinguished. An extremely terrifying and strange aura spread out. Everyone's pupils shrank as they saw 8 stone tablets appear. A vertical eye was drawn on the surface of each stone tablet. The 8 eyes covered everything. Wherever the gaze passed, the void seemed to be split open by a knife. What was this? The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect Dead Soul's Abyss to have such a divine ability. Could it be that it was just created? Looking at this scene, Phantom heaved a sigh of relief. He knew how terrifying the power of spiritual energy surged in all directions was. The other party would definitely not be able to block it. Lin Xian frowned. The other party still had a trump card, but so what? He didn't care at all. Waving his palm fiercely, the demon god Seal blasted down. This attack was unstoppable, completely ignoring the 8 stone steels. Seeing this, Dead Soul's Abyss frowned. Wasn't the other party dodging? Where did the other party get the confidence to block the 8 spiritual eyes? The others were also shocked. Was he going to fight with his life on the line? They didn't know why Lin Xian chose to perish together with the other party. But in the next moment, they understood because a pair of black wings appeared behind Lin Xian. With a gentle flap, he instantly disappeared. He actually dodged the gaze of the 8 spiritual eyes and appeared in front of them in an instant. Not good. Dead Soul's abyss pupils shrank. The other party's speed was faster than he expected. Soul Sage exclaimed. This wasn't Shadowless Heaven's net. The other party actually had a movement technique comparable to the Shadowless Swan, and his speed was even faster in a straight line. What kind of movement technique was that? Cracks appeared on Dead Soul's abyss body. He roared, "You want to dodge the spiritual eyes and chase after me? Impossible, I'm in the array formation." He roared angrily. The eyes on the stone tablets turned and charged over again. Wherever the gaze passed, it was very fast. In an instant, it had arrived. The black wings on Lin Xian's back flapped again, and he instantly dodged. He seemed to have appeared in a different location. At the same time, he also used Shadowless Heaven's net. Chapter 50-46. The illusory spirit eyes continued to attack. The 8 steals were enough to sweep through everything. Finally, he found an opportunity. The 8 steals attacked together, shattering the void in front of him. Ha 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 ha. The abyss of Dead Souls laughed out loud. So what if his opponent was strong? Anyone who was hit by his illusory spirit eyes would die without a doubt. No one could survive. The others sighed when they saw this scene. Was he hit? What a pity. Lin Wuti was too impatient. If he could be more steady, he might be able to win this battle. Yes, he was too confident in his speed. However, the abyss of Dead Souls was not weak either. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to withstand the 8 steals' gazes. The battle was over. The necromancer snorted coldly. How dare you fight against the #1 genius of our clan? You're courting death. Voices sounded one after another. Shuo Linglong and Hanya were filled with despair. Was it really over? At that moment, a rumble sounded. In the next moment, a vortex appeared in the sky. A demonic figure walked out of it. It's too early for you to be happy. Do you think such an attack can kill me? Lin Xian walked out and looked around. How is that possible? You're not dead. The abyss of Dead Souls was stunned. The others were also in an uproar. Many people exclaimed. How did he block it? The necromancers were stunned. Hanya, Shuo Linglong, and the others also heaved a sigh of relief. For a moment, countless discussions sounded. Lin Xian stood there and looked ahead. He said, "Do you have any more trump cards? If not, I'll send you on your way." How did you dodge it? The abyss of Dead Souls' expression became unsightly. Lin Xian did not answer. The demon god seal in his hand slammed down. Boom! Demonic chi exploded. It was as if a god had descended to the world, shattering the entire world. The abyss of Dead Souls was sent flying. Endless cracks appeared on his body. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood and half knelt on the ground. He suddenly raised his head with blood-red light in his eyes. Damn it, that attack caused him to be severely injured. Why? Are you in despair? When you made your move on catoptric deflection, did you ever think that this day would come? You couldn't find me, so you attacked my friends. I won't let you off. With that, Lin Xian threw another punch. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you. The Dead Soul's abyss roared furiously and attacked madly. However, Lin Xian used the 6 Dao fists. With a punch, the 6 paths of reincarnation pressed forward. The Dead Soul's abyss was blasted flying again. It split into pieces and turned into a bloody mist. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. The Dead Soul's abyss crazily roared. His shattered body gathered together and fled into the distance. Damnable defeat. Ever since he was struck by the demonic god seal, he had suffered heavy injuries and was no longer a match for his opponent. Furthermore, that punch from earlier contained the power of reincarnation. This kind of power made him extremely terrified. More importantly, there was a golden flame around his body. This kind of flame had the power of extreme yang and was his nemesis. Therefore, he no longer dared to fight. Countless people looked at this scene in shock, dumbfounded. Was he defeated again? The Dead Soul's abyss actually escaped again. They felt like they were dreaming. Previously, the Dead Soul's abyss fought with a monkey and fled with heavy injuries. They didn't expect that the same situation would happen again. However, this time, it wasn't a monkey, but a human youth. A man named Lin Wudi defeated the Dead Soul's abyss in a domineering manner. This Lin Wudi was probably going to be in danger. That's right. This time, the monkey was chased by the great sage. I think this time, the Dead Soul's race won't let him off either. Discussions broke out one after another, but Lin Xian merely snorted coldly. Don't you think it's too late to escape? Lin Xian naturally knew about the monkey. He wouldn't repeat the same mistake, let alone let the tiger return to the mountain. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian summoned the great dragon sword soul. Holding it with both hands, he slashed down. Everything was over. With this sword strike, the entire world was split into 2 halves. Everyone was horrified. What kind of sword technique was this? Retreat quickly. They retreated frantically. At the same time, they were shocked. The power of this sword was much stronger than before. Was this the other party's true trump card? Damn it, block it for me. When the Dead Soul's abyss saw this scene, his pupils constricted. He felt his hair stand on end and tried his best to dodge, but he realized that he couldn't dodge this sword at all. Helpless, he summoned a pagoda. The Dead Soul's pagoda. Millions of resentful spirits bloomed on the pagoda, turning into countless shields to block. However, under this sword, all of them were turned into ashes. When the sword slashed out, a dragon's roar sounded between heaven and earth. The Dead Soul's abyss was split in half. This time, the power of the great dragon sword soul completely destroyed his soul, and he could no longer recover. It was over. Lin Xian put away the great dragon sword soul. His cold voice rang out. The others were shocked and didn't dare to believe it. What did he mean by it was over? Was this battle over? Was the Dead Soul's abyss defeated? They looked into the distance, but when they sensed the situation in front of them, they all cried out in surprise. Dead! They could no longer feel the aura of the Dead Soul's abyss. How was this possible? Exclamations sounded one after another. They could accept the defeat of the Dead Soul's abyss. After all, the other party had been defeated once before. But the other party was dead. This was too unbelievable. One had to know how powerful the monkey was previously. He pierced through the Dead Soul's abyss, but he didn't have the ability to kill the other party. In the end, he was even hunted down by the powerhouses of the undead race. But now, the Dead Soul's abyss had directly fallen. The power of that sword just now was too strong. This guy seemed to be going to stir up a huge storm. The undead race would definitely not let this matter rest. Everyone was terrified. The undead race roared crazily. Damn it, you actually dared to kill him. You're finished. You're dead. Hurry up and kneel down to accept your death. They had completely gone crazy. The Dead Souls Abyss was their #1 genius, the hope of their family, a powerhouse who would become a great emperor in the future. And their undead race would become an emperor race, sweeping across all directions and standing at the peak of the universe. But now, all of this was gone. Because the Dead Souls Abyss was dead. They couldn't accept the fall of such a talented powerhouse with a future. Kill him. Countless people rushed into the sky and charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. 9 suns revolved around him. The flames of the purest yang flew out and swept in all directions. In an instant, many people were ignited and let out miserable screams. At the same time, Lin Xian landed the demon god seal again. His hands transformed into 2 large black seals. Wherever they passed, dozens of figures were turned into ashes. Who wants to fight? I'll accompany you to the end. A biting cold killing intent rose. The other people's scalps went numb. The undead race also kept retreating. He was too powerful. They were no match for him at all. This person could take on hundreds of them without a problem. Damn it. Phantom gritted her teeth, her beautiful eyes emitting an extremely strange light. Chapter 50-47. Eye Technique. Seeing the other party's eyes, Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a terrifying light appeared in his eyes. Even the power of reincarnation formed a mountain and directly pressed down. The phantom screamed and retreated. He closed his eyes and his eyes were bleeding. At that moment, it was as if he was looking at a god. The other party's soul power was too strong, far surpassing his. This sudden scene made the others' hair stand on end. What was going on? Just looking at each other, was the phantom seriously injured? One had to know that the phantom was in existence second only to the Dead Souls Abyss and was also a top genius. He couldn't even withstand a single blow. The undead clan roared crazily. They came to the phantom and asked, "Are you okay?" The phantom said, "His eyes are too terrifying. His eye technique far surpasses mine. I'm no match for him. Hurry up and protect me back." The undead clan was terrified and didn't dare to say anything. They quickly fled with the phantom. Was he defeated? The phantom was defeated in a single glance, and the Dead Souls Abyss was mercilessly killed. All of this was done by the young man in front of them. They knew that from now on, the underworld would change. Lin Wudi's name would sweep through everything. Those young warriors looked at Lin Xian and clenched their fists. Their faces were filled with excitement and shock. Such a person was a legend in their hearts. Those top geniuses were filled with despair. Even the undead clan was defeated by him, so they were no match for him. They were afraid that from now on, the other party would forever step on their heads. Did he really do it? Ling Longshui couldn't believe it. The 2 saints also sucked in a breath of cold air. If this boy didn't die, his future was limitless. He might even be able to compete with the Emperor's son, the legendary Great Emperor Realm. Lin Xian looked in all directions. This time, he finally had a sufficient understanding of his own strength. The Dead Souls Abyss was no match for him, so he could compete with the real Emperor's son next. Dragon Prince, just you wait. He was going to return and challenge the Dragon Prince. At this moment, he was stunned. He found someone familiar in the crowd. In addition to the people of the illusionary realm, he found Soul Sage, Blood Kill Sage, Strange Soul Cliff, and Ling Longshui. He looked in that direction and nodded slightly. It could be considered a greeting. After all, He had learned 2 monarch divine abilities from there. Is he greeting us? Linglong Shui was taken aback. Father, it really is him. It really was young Master Lin. Previously, they still had some doubts, but now they were completely sure. It was the young man they knew. Now, he stood at the peak. The news of the fall of the Dead Soul's abyss spread quickly. In the blink of an eye, the entire underworld knew about Granny Meng of the Bridge of Forgetfulness and the Yama Kings of the 10 Palaces. Countless clans and sects were shocked and they heard the news. Hell was about to shake. At the same time, a new name appeared in their ears. Lin Wudi. What an arrogant name. Who in the world would dare to call themselves invincible? However, the other party did have the right to be arrogant. The reason for that was because it was precisely this person who had forcibly killed the Dead Soul's abyss. With a single glance, he had seriously injured the phantom. Who among the younger generation of the underworld would be a match for this Lin Wudi? They thought of 2 people again. These 2 people were existences on par with the Dead Soul's abyss. There had always been battles between the 2 sides, with each side winning and losing. But were these 2 people really a match for Lin Xian? They all had their doubts. When the undead clan heard the news, they were all stunned. What did you say? They roared crazily. Their clan's number 1 genius had fallen. This was impossible. They felt that someone was joking with them. However, more and more news came back. In fact, the powerhouses of the undead clan personally escorted the phantom back. They finally broke down. The Dead Soul's abyss had really fallen. His body was cut open by a sword and his soul was destroyed. Damn it! Countless powerhouses of the undead clan roared crazily. Who killed him? Tear him into pieces. Lin Wudi, I will definitely not let him off. Hurry up and kill him. The other party had the talent of a young great emperor and had become a mortal enemy of their undead clan. Then, they would never allow this person to grow. Those who returned said, Elder, this person is not simple. A peak great sage might not be able to kill him. Hearing this, the surrounding people were shocked. Even a peak great sage couldn't kill the other party. Was he already so strong? Those people shook their heads. No, he was like the monkey from before. He had endless trump cards. He was definitely not a match for a peak great sage. However, it would not be easy for a peak great sage to kill him. If he escaped, they might not be able to find him in the vast universe. It seemed that at least 3 peak great sage powerhouses had to be dispatched. Only by sealing off any hope of escape could they completely destroy the other party's soul. When these words came out, many people gasped. Was the other party already so heaven-defying? No matter how strong he was still from the younger generation. No matter how strong he could not compete with a peak great sage. Even she could not compete with a true great sage. It was just that he had a trump card to escape. If we send out 3 peak great sage, I don't believe we can't kill him. Cold snorts could be heard one after another. The undead race instantly gathered 3 peak great sage powerhouses and prepared to attack. However, they stopped because the moment the news spread out, it swept across the world. Soul Sage Monarch and Blood Fiend Sacred Cauldron jointly announced the news of Killer Temple. The content was very simple. They announced that Lin Wudi was one of them and was under the protection of Killer Temple. If anyone dared to assassinate him, Killer Temple would attack the enemy regardless of everything. When these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar. They did not expect Lin Wudi to be from Killer Temple. It was too inconceivable. Killer Temple was also a powerful organization in the underworld. Moreover, it was a powerful assassin organization. The assassins inside came and went like ghosts. The top assassins even cultivated Emperor-level divine abilities, Shadowless Heaven's Net and Azura Sword Art. It could be said that they were very terrifying. Now that they came out, were they warning the world? Countless people were shocked. They knew that the most important thing was to warn the undead race. Sure enough, when the undead race received the news, they went crazy with anger. Damn it, does Sand Saint Temple want to be enemies with our undead race? Damn it. Their eyes were red. Kill him. At most, they would fight with Killer Temple. They were not afraid of anything. However, at this moment, the patriarch of the undead race stood out. This was a young man. His expression was abnormally cold. Stop, don't act rashly. Patriarch, those great sage are roaring crazily. Don't you want to make a move? Damn it, they were unwilling. The patriarch of the undead race said. Killer Temple was different from other sections. They were all top assassins. Once the war starts, our undead spirit clan will face a calamity of extinction. Chapter 50-48. As soon as he said this, the others also fell silent. Indeed, the Killer Temple was very terrifying, and it was very unwise to make an enemy out of them. Damn it, were they going to just let it go? The undead clan gritted their teeth, they were very unwilling. Were they going to just let it go? Let it go? How could that be? The clan leader of the undead clan snorted coldly. He killed our first day here, we will definitely not let him go. I will contact the 10 Kings of Hell and ask their top assassins to attack. I think they will be happy to do so. I will give them the best reward, and they should also want to compete with the Sand Temple. Hearing this, the eyes of the surrounding people lit up. That's right, how could they forget about the 10 Kings of Hell? This was also a terrifying organization. There were many experts in it, and there were also extremely terrifying assassins. They even often had conflicts with the Sand Temple. If they spent a lot of money, they could definitely hire these people. At that time, the experts of the 10 Kings of Hell would attack from all directions. No matter how strong that Lin Wuti was, would he be able to withstand it? Serves him right, this is what he gets for provoking us. The elders gritted their teeth and said, I want him to live a life worse than death. Phantom sighed. At this moment, her eyes were still closed. Because until now, she did not dare to open her eyes. She had fought with Lin Wuti before, so she naturally knew how powerful Lin Wuti was. Their clan was too naive. Did they think that sending these assassins would be able to kill him? To be honest, Phantom did not think so at all. Of course, she did not say anything, the clan was now in a state of madness. No matter what she said, she could not change the will of the clan. Since this was the case, she could only wait and see. She hoped that the 10 Kings of Hell still had some hidden experts. This time, they should be able to make a move. Perhaps only then would it be possible. Thinking of this, she clenched her fists. Damn that Lin Wuti, she must kill him and avenge her brother. Monstrous killing intent appeared in the phantom eye. The people of the undead clan were quickly discussing. On the other side, Lin Xian went back with Lord Hun and the others. After returning, the people of the Sand Temple were also happy. They were very satisfied. After all, Killer Saint Hall was huge. Regardless if it was Hun Saint or Blood Fury Saint, they both belonged to Killer Saint Hall. At this moment, a group of powerhouses from the Killing Temple surrounded Lin Xian and nodded their heads incessantly. Very good. At the same time, the elders asked Lin Xian what kind of divine ability the Black Seal was. Was it the Thearka's ability? They even wanted to ask Lin Xian how he had obtained the Arch Mystique. Lin Xian naturally wouldn't tell the truth, so he casually said some things. He even changed the topic. Those elders didn't care too much. Although they also wanted to obtain it, they knew that they couldn't be impatient. They had to take it slowly. Now that Lin Woody had offended the Undead Spirit Clan, the Undead Spirit Clan would definitely retaliate. Therefore, if Lin Woody was smart, he would definitely seek help from the Killing Hole. This way, the other party might stay by their side for a long time. At that time, they would have plenty of opportunities. Therefore, they were not in a hurry. At the very least, they could not let the other party be on guard. Lin Xian naturally knew the Killing Hole's plan. He snorted in his heart. Although they said that they were protecting him, the most important reason was that they wanted to obtain the Thearcha's inheritance. However, he didn't care. It was better that they weren't in a hurry to make a move because they were wrong. He wasn't afraid of the Undead Spirit Clan's revenge at all. He wouldn't even stay here for too long. He wanted to return to the Holy Abyss ancient city and challenge the Dragon Prince. Next, Lin Xian temporarily stayed in the Sand Sacred Hole. During this time, Xue Linglong and Hunya both came to find him. They even came to ask for advice seriously. Now, Lin Xian was like a god in their eyes. Lin Xian didn't reject them and gave them advice. The two of them were enlightened and their eyes lit up. "Thank you, young Master Lin." The two of them were overjoyed and immediately went into seclusion after returning. At the same time, they were even more in awe of Lin Xian. Because these questions had troubled them for decades or even centuries. But now, Lin Xian's words had enlightened them. It made them instantly understand. This showed that the other party's strength far surpassed theirs. It was beyond their reach. Lin Xian also closed his eyes and continued to cultivate the Great Emperor's inheritance, the Illusion Demon Scripture. On the other side, the Undead Spirit Clan spread the news to the 10 Kings of Hell. The 10 Kings of Hell were 10 huge organizations and sections. They covered a very wide area. They occupied many worlds. At this moment, when the news came, they were also shocked. The holy weapon of the Undead Spirit Clan. Heavens, was the Undead Spirit Clan crazy? They even took out such a treasure. The people of the 10 Kings of Hell were shocked. They heard a piece of news. It was that the Undead Spirit Clan had issued a bounty to hunt down Lin Woody and use Lin Woody's head in exchange for the Undead Spirit Clan's legendary weapon, the Illusory Spirit Cauldron. The Undead Spirit Clan had a total of 3 legendary weapons. The Illusory Spirit Cauldron was one of them. Its power was very terrifying and famous in the underworld. But at this moment, they actually wanted to offer a bounty. It was really unbelievable. That was a legendary weapon. It was much more powerful than ordinary sacred weapons. Even the peak existence of the great sage would be jealous. Because it was in existence second only to the Emperor weapon. Even the top families would treat it as a treasure. Most of the families did not even have a legendary weapon. It was simply too difficult to obtain a legendary saint weapon. But now, there was such an opportunity in front of them. If they got one, it would be enough to start a family. And it would be a top family. The kind of existence that could occupy countless worlds and sweep through all directions. This mission must be obtained. In fact, even the eyes of the peak great sage cultivators had turned red. Naturally, they also wanted such a treasure. Lin Woody. Many people frowned. They had naturally heard of this name. It could even be said that it was like thunder in their ears. Because during this period of time, everyone was talking about him. The other party had single-handedly slain the Dead Soul's Abyss and made a name for himself in the underworld. This was also why the Undead Spirit Clan would crazily offer a bounty for him. Although they had not seen that battle with their own eyes, they had all heard of it. The other party was very powerful, and the divine ability he used was terrifying. In fact, thinking about it, someone who could kill the dead soul's abyss in a head-on battle was definitely not an ordinary person. However, there were many experts among the 10 kings of hell. Naturally, some people did not care. No matter how strong the other party was, he was just a young man. No matter how strong he was, could he be stronger than the experts of the older generation? These experts of the older generation stood at the peak of the sage realm. They were experienced and had fought countless battles. Chapter 50-49. Chujiang Hall. A man surrounded by black lightning heard the news and a smile appeared on his face. Lin Wudi. Sacred Weapon Legacy. Very well, I'll take this mission. Killing him is easy. The Sacred Weapon Legacy is mine. A lady in red walked over and said. Thunderbolt, be careful. This young man isn't simple. He killed the existence of the dead soul's abyss. The man surrounded by black lightning laughed after hearing this. It's fine. If I, Thunderbolt, want to make a move, no matter how strong he is, can he withstand it? As he spoke, he waved his hand and pointed into the distance. Do you see that wall? It was built with the heads of saints. When I swept across the world, he probably wasn't even born yet. Thunderbolt was an extremely terrifying assassin in Chujiang Hall. He was also an exceptional expert. He had killed too many saints. It was impossible to count. It was said that he used the bones of those people to build a white bone palace. The wall at the back was also built with the heads of top-notch saints. The strength of such a person would definitely shock the world. If he were to target someone, that person would probably be in despair. Thunderbolt stood up and looked at the lady in red. Go and find the news of Lin Wudi for me. Keep an eye on him and see when he leaves Sand's Sacred Hall. Lin Xian originally wanted to leave. However, there was something that made him stop temporarily. It was Shui Linglong's birthday. 2 days later, it was Shui Linglong's birthday. Many young prodigies were invited. Countless clans and sects came to pay their respects. After all, Shui Linglong was an extremely terrifying prodigy. His father was the Blood Fiend Saint, who was a powerful saint. Hence, her birthday banquet was exceptionally grand. Shui Linglong naturally invited Lin Xian immediately. If Lin Xian could appear at her banquet, it would be an extremely honorable thing. Lin Xian couldn't reject. Hence, he nodded and agreed. 2 days later, he went to the Blood Fiend Saint's residence. He realized that there was indeed a sea of people. Countless people came to congratulate him. Lin Xian had encountered many top-notch geniuses, but these people were far inferior to him. After all, the Death Soul's Abyss was ranked in the top 5 or even top 3 amongst the younger generation of the underworld. The fact that he was able to kill Qin Yi meant that his strength had entered the top 3 of the top geniuses of the underworld. The others were no match for him at all. When these people saw that Lin Xian had arrived, they naturally exclaimed in surprise. Each and every one of them looked at him with adoration and respect. Many young women even came over to greet Lin Xian. Lin Xian released a trace of his aura, which surrounded the surroundings. The strong naturally had the demeanor of the strong. Besides, he didn't want to be disturbed by these people. Hanya also came. He accompanied Lin Xian and introduced many people to him. Lin Xian looked over and nodded slightly. Then, he looked ahead. Shui Ling was up ahead. She had specially dressed up today. She was like the goddess of hell, making countless people look up to her. If he could marry someone like Shui Ling, it would probably be the work of 3 lifetimes of luck. Xueling ignored the others and came over to Lin Xian. She only had eyes for Lin Xian. This gaze made Lin Xian laugh bitterly. This girl couldn't have fallen for him, right? However, it was impossible between them. He wouldn't stay in the underworld for too long. Damn it, the goddess was actually with Lin Wudi. The surrounding people gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. They were furious, but they didn't dare to say anything. Who would dare to challenge Lin Wudi? That would be courting death. Lin Xian ignored these hostile gazes. These people weren't his match. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes. He realized that someone in the crowd had released killing intent towards him. Although it was only for a moment, Lin Xian's soul was extremely strong. He could clearly sense it. Someone wanted to kill him. Who was it? Because he was standing with Xueling. Impossible. These people knew his identity. They knew that he killed the dead soul's abyss. Who would dare to attack him now? Then there was only one other possibility. It was the undead race. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a golden light. The undead race. Did they want to die? He didn't mind sending them to hell. Sir Lin. Please. Xueling invited Lin Xian to the VIP seats. Then, she sat beside him. Hanya sat down as well. At this moment, a woman came from afar. Her face was red and filled with excitement. Young Master Lin, I really respect you. She held a flower basket in her hand. Sir Lin. This is for you. All right, leave it here. Hanya knew Lin Xian's attitude, so he said directly. The woman nodded, then placed the flower basket on the table and turned to leave. When she left, her lips curled into a mysterious smile. Hanya and the others ignored her. After that, many female saints came to give gifts. The entire table was piled up into a mountain. Of course, during this process, countless genius young masters came to invite Xueling for a drink. It could be said that Lin Xian's side was very lively. Xueling, Hanya, and the others didn't notice, but Lin Xian frowned slightly. In the next moment, his pupils shrank. A cold golden light appeared in his eyes. He snorted coldly. The dragon sword soul in his body circulated and directly destroyed the aura that entered his body. Then, he stared at the table in front of him. It was also the first flower basket. There were some flowers inside. They were all precious spiritual herbs. Lin Xian's eyes were cold. He didn't pay much attention to the previous ones. These flowers weren't poisonous, but when a few of them worked together, they could release a kind of poison. It was a kind of poison mixed together. Once it was formed, the smell couldn't be detected at all. But if a saint absorbed it, they would probably die from the poison. So vicious. Who was this person coming for? It was very likely that he was coming for him. Lin Xian's face was cold. With a wave of his hand, a ball of fire burned the flower basket to ashes. In the next moment, he stood up. Xueling Long and Hanya were stunned. What's going on? Who made Lin Xian so angry? Young Master Lin. Xueling Long wanted to say something, but in the next moment, her face paled and she almost fainted. Hanya's scalp went numb. Lin Xian waved his hand. Two dragon-shaped sword energies entered their bodies. It destroyed their poison. Then he said that the first flower basket was poisonous. Where's that woman? Find her. Poisonous. Hanya's pupils shrank. Xueling Long's expression also changed. No wonder she almost fainted just now. Luckily, Lin Xian was here. Otherwise, they would really be in danger today. Young master, don't worry. I'll send someone to find her. Shuai Ling Long stood up and gritted her teeth. Lin Xian shook his head. No need. I'll go myself. Today is your birthday party. You're the star. He's coming for me. Chapter 50-50. Lin Xian's eyes emitted a golden light that enveloped the world. Soon, a smile appeared on his face as he walked into the distance. In a remote corner of the mansion, there was a purple-clothed woman. She was the first person to deliver the flower basket to Lin Xian. At this moment, there was a sneer on her face. What Lin Wudi? He can't even detect my combination poison. What kind of top genius is he? Let's see how he'll die this time. She had great confidence in her methods because she had once used this method to kill 10 people of the great sage. Moreover, those people didn't even know how they died when they died. So this time, in her opinion, it would be no exception. As long as she killed Lin Wudi, she could go to the undead clan to collect the reward. That was a sacred weapon passed down from generation to generation. After obtaining it, she could start her own clan and pass it down for 10,000 years. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel excited. You want to kill me with your poison? You're too far away. At this moment, a faint voice sounded. The purple-clothed woman's pupils shrank as she turned her head abruptly. She shouted coldly. Who is it? The next moment, she was stunned. You're not dead. When she saw Lin Xian walking over, she was so scared that her face turned pale and she took a few steps back. What's going on? Shouldn't the other party have poisoned her? How could he still be alive? And she even found him. I've already discovered your poison. You're too weak to kill me with this method. Did the undead clan find such a person? The purple-clothed woman broke out in cold sweat. She thought her plan was flawless, but it turned out that the other party had already discovered it. It was ridiculous that she was still fantasizing about killing him. Spare my life. She directly knelt down and kept kowtowing. The other party was so strong that she was no match for him in a head-on battle. These assassins used sneaky assassination techniques. Now that their assassination techniques had been broken, she really didn't have much choice. Tell me, how many people do you have? What other methods does the undead clan have? Lin Xian asked coldly as he walked forward. At this moment, the purple-clothed woman suddenly raised her head and threw 2 crystal balls forward. There was an extremely terrifying green poisonous gas inside. Go to hell. The crystal ball cracked open and poisonous gas emerged from within, enveloping Lin Xian. Ha ha ha, what Lin Wudi? I used a little trick, and you died at my hands. Next, I want to make a name for myself. The purple-dressed woman laughed heartily, but she was soon stunned. His expression even became frightened, and he knelt on the ground again. This time, she was really scared. A sword light streaked across the sky, splitting her poisonous gas into 2 halves. Then, Lin Xian walked out. Divine flames were burning around his body. Everything was isolated from the outside world. How could this be? How could the other party be so strong? The purple-clothed woman looked terrified. She had only heard of how terrifying he was, but she had never seen him before. Therefore, when she saw this scene, her face turned cold. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the 9 suns' divine fire flew out, transforming into a golden crow that enveloped his opponent. The purple-clothed woman let out a miserable howl as she burned in the raging flames. She knew that she couldn't live, but she gritted her teeth and roared. Lin Wudi, you won't live long if you kill me. I'm just the first killer. After this, there will be more and more killers chasing after you. The 10 Yama kings are as numerous as the clouds. Even with the protection of the Sand Holy Temple, you won't be able to escape death. The 10 Yama Kings. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. He didn't have any grudges with these sections. The purple-clothed woman laughed wildly. You're too naive. In order to take revenge, the undead clan took out a sacred weapon as a reward. This is enough to cause anyone to go crazy, so just wait for your death. As soon as she finished speaking, she was burned to ashes. Lin Xian frowned. The other party had actually taken out a saint weapon of legacy. That was truly extravagant. It seemed that there would be countless experts coming to assassinate him. The undead clan was haunting him. There would be a day when he would completely destroy them. As for those saint killers who came to assassinate him, Lin Xian naturally wouldn't let them go. He wouldn't wait passively. Instead, he would take the initiative to attack. These people wanted to kill him, so he would kill them first. He wanted everyone to be terrified. At the same time, he wanted everyone to know what would happen if they dared to make a move on him. Lin Xian went back to continue attending the banquet. After the banquet, late night came. Lin Xian stood on a mountain peak. His demonic aura was monstrous, and his golden pupils shrouded the heaven and earth. At this moment, in the 9 heavens, there was also a pair of golden eyes looking down on the world. Lin Xian was using the heavenly secret divine eye with all his strength. He wanted to detect the existence of those killers. These saint killers were terrifying. They had all kinds of hidden methods. However, as long as the other party had killing intent, Lin Xian could still find them. After all, Lin Xian's eye technique was terrifying. The heavenly secret divine eye had absorbed enough reincarnation power. It was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Under this pair of eyes, nothing could be hidden. Lin Xian's face immediately turned gloomy. He didn't expect there to be so many killers around. The number of killers surprised him. If it wasn't for the news he received today, he would probably never have a day of peace. But now, Lin Xian was ready to attack. Lin Xian slowly formed a seal with his palms. He used one of the Emperor's abilities in the demon summoning scripture. Demonic Shadow. It was an existence that could create millions of doppelgangers in an instant. Lin Xian created 100 doppelgangers. Each of them was like a god fiend. Then, they flew in all directions. In a valley, a towering tree swayed with the wind. At this moment, a demonic figure descended. Then, he slammed his palm towards the ancient tree. The ancient tree was split into pieces. It let out a crazy roar. Who was it? This ancient tree was also a terrifying killer. He roared crazily. He hid very well, but he didn't expect to be discovered in an instant. Moreover, this person's strength was beyond imagination. Naturally, this was one of Lin Xian's doppelgangers. With a wave of his hand, the 9 suns' divine fire flew out and burned the ancient tree. Soon, the ancient tree disappeared into thin air. Not only that, but Lin Xian's 100 doppelgangers also attacked in all directions. One by one, they were quickly killed by him. Lin Xian's real body also made a move. Inside the 7-story pagoda, the aura was majestic and the array formation was flickering. A man had an array formation in his hand. He was constantly shaking it. The array formation recorded a few images. If one looked closely, they would find that the figures in the array formation were all Lin Xian. This person was also a terrifying killer. He was studying Lin Xian. For these killers, killing in one blow was the best. If they missed the opportunity, it would be difficult to succeed in the future. Every time, he would study the enemy like the back of his hand. It was an old man. He was wearing a wide black robe. Under the black robe was a skeleton. Chapter 50-51. The old man was very famous. He was called the Iron Hand Skeleton. His assassination methods were very powerful. At this moment, not only were there records of formations beside the Iron Hand Skeleton, but there were also various scrolls. They were all information about Lin Xian. I'm definitely not a match for a top-notch genius in a head-on battle. However, if it's an assassination, the other party might not be able to dodge it. It seems that his physique is very strong, but I can use my soul to kill him. Thinking of this, the corner of his mouth raised. With a wave of his hand, he took out a large black cauldron. There was a flying knife floating inside. The flying knife was engraved with runes, surrounded by countless resentful spirits. There was also this terrifying blood water. Spirit Slayer Blade. I spent all my wealth to get you. I hope you won't disappoint me. This was a very terrifying forbidden weapon that specialized in slashing people's souls. No matter how strong the other party was, his soul would probably be destroyed immediately after being slashed by the Spirit Slayer Blade. Holding the Spirit Slayer Blade in his hand, the old man smiled proudly. However, at this moment, the void split open, and a sword light streaked across, piercing directly towards the old man. Immediately, the old man's head flew up. How is this possible? The old man was shocked. He tried his best to turn around, wanting to see who the other party was. In the next moment, he saw it clearly. A black figure, like a demon, appeared. It was his target, Lin Wudi. Is the gap so big? The old man's eyes were filled with despair. He had the Spirit Slayer Blade, but he didn't have the chance to use it. He was killed by the other party's sword. Lin Xian walked over and snorted coldly. He used the Azura sword technique in that attack. One sword kill. The other party couldn't resist at all. At this moment, the old man died. The black cauldron beside the old man was shaking non-stop. There was a terrifying aura inside. It seemed to be about to fly out. With a swoosh, a terrifying blade light slashed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt his hair stand on end in an instant. So terrifying. These assassins really have powerful trump cards. Under this blade, no one in the Great Sage realm would be able to resist. Even a sage would be shocked and have their hair stand on end. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The power of reincarnation appeared in his right eye, transforming into a mountain that crushed down. After suppressing the Spirit Slayer Blade, Lin Xian grabbed it and erased Mask's soul. What a terrifying weapon. It specialized in destroying souls. It was a good item. Lin Xian waved his hand and put away his soul imprint. He did not attack again. Instead, he carefully sensed his surroundings. At this moment, the 100 doppelgangers were moving swiftly. Even though they were just doppelgangers, they were still extremely frightening. Therefore, those assassins were no match for him. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 assassins had fallen to the clones. That should be enough. After all, so many saints of the underworld had perished in a single night. That should be enough to topple the entire underworld. Everyone in the underworld was shocked and terrified. Lin Xian was just about to leave when he suddenly froze. He felt another aura. Then, he looked up at the sky. Was there anyone else? Moreover, this person had hidden himself so well that he had not noticed him for a while. He knew that he had been a little careless. Previously, he had only explored the ground. He did not expect someone to be hiding in the sky. Humph. Once I am done with you, it should be even more shocking. Lin Xian's body swayed. He executed Shadowless Heaven's net and disappeared without a trace. When he made his move, some of the experts in the territory frowned. The Blood Fury sage stood in the pagoda. His eyes were flickering. What a terrifying soul power. Just now, he seemed to have felt a pair of eyes in the sky looking down at that power. He was extremely shocked. Was he the one who made the move? The Blood Fury sage thought of a person. It was Lin Wudi. It was also Lin Fan who had such terrifying strength. This young man was a few thousand years younger than him. However, his strength was too terrifying. It would not take long for him to catch up with him. What shocked him even more was that Lin Fan was only a sage king. Lin Fan was not even a great sage. Yet, Lin Fan was able to shock him. If Lin Fan were to become a great sage, then how terrifying would his strength be? Lin Fan was afraid that Lin Fan would be stronger than him. Not only him, but other than him, there were also some top-notch great sage. They were also extremely shocked. There were even some top-notch geniuses who were not convinced previously. They thought that the fall of the Death Soul's abyss was due to carelessness. If they were to fight seriously, they might not lose to Lin Wudi. But now, they realized that they were too naive. Lin Fan's soul power was enough to sweep through everything. They reckoned that with Lin Fan around, they would never be able to make a name for themselves in the underworld. At this moment, there was a cloud floating in the sky. There were faint flashes of lightning on it. Such a thundercloud would normally not attract anyone's attention, because it would soon float into the distance. But at this moment, the thundercloud was tumbling non-stop. It transformed into a human face. Damn it! Why do I have an uneasy feeling that I am being watched by someone? That shouldn't be the case. With my means, even a sage would not be able to easily discover who it is. This thundercloud was none other than Ingpai. He could transform into a thundercloud and float in the sky. This way, he could hide his identity. Once he found his target, he would activate a thunderstrike and strike down with lightning. A one-hit kill. It could be said that his means were superb. But at this moment, he felt uneasy, as if something was about to happen. Thinking of this, his body swayed and he was ready to float to another place. Do you want to leave? Don't you think it's a little late? A faint voice sounded in the sky. It made Ingpai's body stiffen. Who is it? He looked in all directions. The next moment, he discovered that a man in a black robe had appeared in front of him. Who are you? Ingpai was stunned. Lin Xian, on the other hand, laughed. You came to kill me, but you don't even know who I am. It's you. Ingpai was shocked and could not believe it. Was this his target, Lin Wudi? He took a closer look and sucked in a cold breath. The other party was too young. He was even younger than he had imagined. Moreover, the other party indeed only had the aura of a sage ruler. Could such a person really kill the Dead Soul's abyss? He did not believe it. However, the other party could easily discover him and block his path. It was enough to show that this young man had hidden very well. Kill. Since he had encountered him, there was nothing to say. He was very tempted by the legendary sage weapon. He had to kill the other party. Endless black thunder struck forward, splitting the void into black holes one after another. With such a terrifying attack, the other party would definitely die. As long as the other party dodged, then he would immediately use his backup move. However, the other party did not dodge at all. Ingpai snorted. You scared me to death. I thought you were some kind of expert. It turned out that you were just an idiot. You don't even know how to dodge. However, he soon realized that he had thought too much. It was not that the other party did not know how to dodge. The other party did not even bother to dodge. A fist blasted over, directly shattering the thunder in the sky. Chapter 50-52. Damn it, the other party's strength was too strong. He was terrified and fought back. After 3 moves, he completely lost his temper. Powerful and invincible. This was his evaluation of the other party. He knew that he was no match for him in a head-on battle. Now, he could only escape. His entire body turned into mist and fled in all directions. He snorted coldly. Lin Wudy, although you are powerful, you don't understand us assassins at all. If we want to escape, you can't stop us. In the blink of an eye, he had already fled 1,000,000 miles away. Ing Thunderbolt heaved a sigh of relief. Damn it, he was careless this time. It seemed that after returning, he had to make a good plan. Just as he was thinking, a black bolt of lightning flashed behind him. His speed was even faster. Lin Xian had black wings on his back, and he easily tore through the void. He was fearless in a straight line. In an instant, he arrived behind Ing Thunderbolt. Don't you think you are a little naive to try to match my speed? A faint voice sounded. Ing Thunderbolt turned around and was scared out of his wits. Damn it, how was this possible? This was the first time he had seen someone faster than him. Escape again. He accelerated again. But after 3 times, Lin Xian could easily catch up to him. In fact, the 3rd time, he was directly in front of him. He stopped him. Then, he threw a punch over, and the entire void was completely shattered. The phantoms of 6 worlds charged towards him, causing his blood to boil. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Damn it, thunder shook the world. Ing Thunderbolt roared. The thundercloud he turned into covered the sky and earth, directly swallowing everything. Let's see how you will die in my thunder domain. Ing Thunderbolt's voice sounded in all directions. At this moment, the entire sky had completely turned into a thunderstorm. The violent aura was enough to crush everything. Lin Xian's body was covered in a golden light, and golden talismans flickered as he resisted. At the same time, he took out a flying knife, the Soul Cutter. Previously, he had just obtained it. Do you think I won't be able to find you if you hide? Go. Lin Xian activated the Soul Cutter. The Soul Cutter flew out and turned into a ray of light. It directly charged into the depths of the thundercloud. Puff! Saber light flashed, and a scream was heard. Damn it, it's the soul-severing saber. How did you get your hands on something like that? He let out a terrified roar, his expression unwilling. He remembered that the soul-severing saber had been obtained by an extremely terrifying old man. Why was it in Lin Xian's hands? Could it be that that person had also fallen? He had no chance to find out. The power of the soul-slashing blade was unparalleled. Back then, the iron-handed skeleton had spent all of his wealth to buy it. Now, it was truly powerful. With a single slash, he sliced apart Shadow Cleave Force's soul. Thunder Shadow had fallen. The thunderclouds that filled the sky also slowly disappeared. Lin Xian stood there and waved his hand, causing the soul-severing saber to fly out. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he narrowed his eyes. Forbidden artifacts could not be used for long periods of time. The soul-severing saber could probably be used 3 more times. It would be torn apart. However, he did not mind. With his strength, it was easy for him to kill the other party. Therefore, he did not rely on these at all. He left. Lin Xian's figure disappeared into the void. He left, but the entire underworld went crazy. When the sun rose the next day, countless people were shocked. They discovered that tens of thousands of assassins had been killed. That included the iron-handed skeleton and even top experts like Thunder Shadow. Who did it? To be able to kill so many experts in such a short period of time was definitely not something that a single person could do. Was it the Assassin Temple? Countless exclamations and discussions sounded. It was no longer a secret that the 10 Kings of Hell had come to assassinate Lin Xian. However, they did not expect that these people would be completely annihilated in less than a day after they arrived. Had the Assassin Temple become so powerful? They did not know that this was the masterpiece of Lin Xian alone. If they knew, they would probably be scared out of their wits. What was going on? Even Thunder Shadow had perished. He had killed too many experts. It was said that he had built a white bone palace made entirely of the bones of saints. Not only that. He also had a wall formed by the heads of top-tier saints. Such a person was so powerful. Even if he could not kill Lin Wudy, it would not be a problem for him to leave calmly. But now, the other party had actually fallen. Was it Lin Wudy who did it? Some people shook their heads. It was not Lin Wudy who was strong. However, in the face of the elusive assassin, he was helpless. It must have been someone from the Assassin Temple who made the move. I guess it might even be the work of the Soul Saint or the Blood Evil Killing Saint. They were the only ones who could kill Thunderbolt without alerting anyone. After the 10 Kings of Hell received the news, they were also greatly shocked. The experts inside also made a similar analysis. In their opinion, it should be a sage-level existence who had made the move. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Lin Wudy to kill so many experts in such a short period of time. Damn the Assassin Temple. For a young man, they would not hesitate to go to war with the 10 Kings of Hell. Damn it. The 10 Kings of Hell gritted their teeth. They would not easily make a move again in a short period of time. They had to investigate carefully. And make a detailed plan. Only then could they carry out the next attack. When the undead race found out, they were so angry that they vomited blood. Damn it, they had already taken out a legendary saint weapon as a reward. But the result did not seem to be what they wanted. That Lin Wudy was actually still alive and was becoming more and more famous. Now, not only did the geniuses of the underworld acknowledge him, but even the assassin saints were afraid of him. Damn it, this kid has the Assassin Temple behind him. It is difficult to touch him. They had to make him leave the Sacred Sand Temple. Or make the Assassin Temple stop supporting him. Under the Undead Spirit Clan's relentless investigation, they finally found a clue. That was the original top genius of the Assassin Temple, Yin Tianfeng, who had accidentally fallen in the underworld. At that time, Lin Xian had also been there. There might be some connection between the two. Even if there was no connection, they would make up 10,000 connections. Quickly invite the experts of Granny Meng's lineage. The undead race paid a huge price to invite an elder of Granny Meng's lineage. They went to the first level of the underworld and arrived at the place where Yin Tianfeng had fallen. Granny Meng's lineage had a powerful ability. It was Granny Meng's soup. It could forget some things and also restore the previous scene. At this moment, the elder that was invited was from Granny Meng's lineage. He was an extremely terrifying elder. He looked over and narrowed his eyes. I can help you restore the scene back then. But I am not sure how much I can restore. Before that, you have to give me what you promised me. Understood. The elder of the undead race gritted his teeth. The elder waved his hand and took out 2 treasure boxes and handed them over. Chapter 50-53. Elder Meng didn't care about the 10,000-year-old spiritual herb at all and put it away. Instead, he looked at another stone. The simple stone was placed on the ground and was not eye-catching at all. No one would pay attention to it. But at this moment, Elder Meng looked as if he had obtained a treasure. The Shura stone was a stone brought out from the Shura ruins. It contained a trace of the Shura race's power. Rumor had it that the Shura race might be related to time. Therefore, the Shura stone naturally had a mysterious power. If he could study it carefully, he might be able to improve his laws and cultivation. How could he not be excited? He put away the Shura stone. He nodded in satisfaction. Alright, I'll help you guys reconstruct what happened more than 10 years ago. He waved his hand and took out 4 bowls of Meng Po's soup and placed them in 4 directions. Then, he started forming seals with his palms. This was an ancient sacrifice. It was very complicated. The entire process lasted for 3 days. In the end, Elder Meng poured the 4 bowls of Meng Po's soup on the ground respectfully. As the Meng Po's soup fell, endless dreamlike fragments appeared in all directions. Then, they quickly condensed. In the next moment, images appeared one after another. There were people in the images. The elders of the undead spirit race looked carefully. They realized that there were 2 figures in front of them. One of them was the dead Yin Tianfeng. The other was none other than Lin Xian. Great, Lin Wudi and Yin Tianfeng had indeed met. What happened next? They carefully examined the scene. It was very blurry. After all, this was back in the past. It contained a trace of the power of time. Although the Meng Po's lineage was powerful, it was impossible for them to completely recover. Therefore, there were only some fragments. But even so, they still managed to capture a little. In one of the fragments, it was the scene of Lin Xian attacking Yin Tianfeng. Seeing this scene, the Grand Elder of the undead spirit race looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha 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 ha, great, he was really too happy. With this evidence, it was enough to make the killing Holy Temple and Lin Xian fall out. At least, he would definitely take revenge for killing a core elder of the Holy Temple. Because Yin Tianfeng was the grandson of the core elder, Elder Yin. And this Elder Yin was vengeful and would definitely take revenge. At that time, Lin Xian might turn against the Assassin Temple, and they would have the opportunity to assassinate him. Thank you for your help this time. The Grand Elder of the undead spirit race looked at Elder Meng with gratitude. Then, they used an array formation to record these fragments and immediately returned. Next, they contacted to Elder Yin of the Holy Temple. At first, Elder Yin didn't believe it. However, Elder Yin's expression turned ugly when she saw the flickering fragments of the array formation. He gritted his teeth and said, "What if it was you who did it? Grand Elder of the undead spirit race." This matter was handled by the elders of Meng Po's lineage who had been invited to do it. You can ask him. You should know what Elder Meng is capable of. He could reconstruct the events of the past, even though it was just fragments. However, it was obvious that Yin Tianfeng's death had something to do with Lin Wudi. Damn it. Meng's tears _____ attention. His eyes were red, but he still said coldly, although Lin Wudi is my enemy, he is still a genius of the Holy Temple. His death is not good for the Holy Temple. You want me to do it? You want me to be a sinner of the Holy Temple? The Grand Elder laughed. Elder Yin, you are thinking too much. You don't need to do it. You just need to lure that guy out. We will do it then. Also, is that guy really willing to stay in the Holy Temple? Do you think he is willing to work for the Holy Temple? I don't think so. Looking at his cultivation and aura, he is not from the underworld. One day, he would leave. Also, didn't the Yin family put their hopes on Yin Tianfeng? We, the undead spirit race, can understand your pain. Our top geniuses have all fallen, and they all fell at the hands of Lin Wudi. Only by killing him can we take revenge. Elder Een nodded. Okay, I will work with you. The two sides reached an agreement. Next, they would work together to assassinate Lin Xian. Elder Een went back to discuss with her family members. Many of them had cold expressions. They decided to take revenge. There were also some who frowned. He was now very powerful. If they attacked, the Holy Temple would not agree. Then, they would think of a way to lure him out. At that time, the undead spirit race could take action. They were prepared to choose this safe method. Under Elder Yin's control, the Holy Temple sent out a mission to Lin Xian and the others. A total of 50 people set off together, including Lin Xian. When Lin Xian found out about this mission, his eyebrows knitted together tightly. This mission was very long. It could be as short as 30 years, or as long as 100 years. He did not have that much time. Therefore, he directly rejected and looked at the Soul Sage Lord. Soul Sage, I may have to go out, so I will not accept this mission. The Soul Sage Lord said, Okay, I will tell you. The Soul Sage Lord reported this news. When Elder Een and the others heard this, they frowned and one of them sneered. It seemed that the undead spirit race was right. This kid did not want to work for the Holy Temple. In fact, I think he will leave this place in a short time. How about this, you contact the Vice Palace Master and say that you found Lin Wudi wanting to leave the Holy Temple. At the same time, we will send people to follow him secretly. As long as he leaves, we will have evidence. At that time, we can make a move on him. Elder Een sent people to keep an eye on Lin Xian. Lin Xian was indeed planning to leave. And his actions were completely under the control of Elder Een and the others. Immediately, those elders started to laugh coldly. Now that they had evidence, Elder Een immediately led people to go. Experts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth surrounded Lin Xian. Elder Een said coldly, Young Master Lin, where are you going? You are leaving without saying goodbye. Don't you know the rules of the Holy Temple? You have broken the rules. Men, take him down. 6 experts walked out. They held chains in their hands and shrouded the front. From the looks of it, they wanted to completely shroud Lin Xian. In an instant, these chains came to Lin Xian's side with an extremely powerful sealing power. Lin Xian's face darkened. He shouted coldly and burned the divine fire, shattering these chains. He stomped his foot and a terrifying solar storm swept out in all directions. The 6 experts vomited blood and flew backward. Their faces turned pale. It was too terrifying. You dare to disobey our orders? Do you want to betray the Holy Temple? Elder Een shouted angrily, but he was ecstatic. Great, the other party dared to make a move. Then he had a reason to kill him on the spot. Lin Xian's face was cold. Hearing the other party's name, he should be related to Een Tianfeng. Chapter 50-54. Kid, how dare you resist? Do you want to die? Elder Een and the others were shocked by the power that Lin Xian had displayed. However, they were overjoyed. This way, they would all have a chance to make a move. As expected, several elder-level figures attacked Lin Xian in a domineering manner. Lin Xian's face was cold. He knew that the other party must have obtained some evidence, which was why they attacked him. It seemed like he couldn't stay in the underworld any longer. Anyway, he was ready to leave. He couldn't just leave like this. His figure swayed and a pair of black wings appeared on his back as he flew into the distance. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. What fast speed! Elder Een and the others were shocked and quickly chased after him. They also used Shadowless Heaven's Net to chase after him. Shadowless Heaven's Net. The great emperor's divine ability allowed him to appear and disappear unpredictably. When Eldarine and the others used it, it was extremely powerful. However, it was a pity that they were flying in a straight line this time. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't catch up with Lin Xian's demon god wings. Damn it, hurry up and inform the undead spirit race. Eldarine and the others roared and sent out the news. When the undead spirit race's great elder heard the news, he rushed over with his men and cut off the path ahead. Only then did they stop Lin Xian. Kid, where are you running to? How dare you kill our family's #1 genius? Do you think you can escape? Cold shouts came one after another. They were emitting a murderous aura. In front of him was the undead spirit race and behind him was the assassin temple. It could be said that Lin Xian was in an extremely dangerous situation. Lin Xian stood in the void with an unusually cold expression. With so many people, not to mention him, even if it was anyone else, they wouldn't be able to leave. This was also the reason why the other party sneered. The news had also spread. When the people from the Assassin Temple heard about it, they were in an uproar. The Blood Fury Saint and the Soul Sage frowned. The Assassin Temple wanted to make a move on Lin Xian. Damn it, what's going on? They quickly went to find out that it was Eldarine who did it. Is Eldarine crazy? The Blood Fury Saint roared. The Soul Sage Monarch was also brimming with killing intent. He was even prepared to intervene. However, at this moment, a piece of news spread. Lin Xian killed Yin Tianfeng. Elder Yin's revenge was a personal grudge, and no one else was allowed to interfere. Furthermore, the news was spread by the Vice Palace Master. Damn it! Hanya and Shuel Linglong gritted their teeth. Blood Fiend Saint sighed. His eyes flickered, but he didn't make another move. Father! Linglong Shuai shouted. If we don't act now, young Master Lin will really be finished. Sigh. The Blood Kill Saint sighed. The Vice Palace Master has personally given the order, and it is not something that you and I can go against. Young Master Lin, he could only resign himself to fate. After saying that, the Blood Kill Saint went into seclusion. On the other side, when the Soul Sage Lord received the news, his face turned cold. Hanya asked, Father, what should we do? The Soul Sage Monarch thought for a moment, then said, I'll leave Soul to you. He took out a token, and at the same time, summoned the people of Soul. He said coldly, Brothers. If I'm not around, please take good care of Father. Sage. Countless shouts rang out. Hanya stood out and said, I'm willing to fight with Father. The people of Soul also raised their arms and shouted, We'll follow the Sage Monarch to death. All of you. The Soul Sage Monarch took a deep breath. All right, follow me. He brought Hanya and flew into the distance. He was going to support Lin Xian. When he arrived, the aura between the two sides was even colder. The arrival of the Soul Sage Monarch caused countless people to turn their heads. The Soul Sage Monarch shouted coldly, Eldarine, what do you want? Soul Sage Monarch, you're here too. But it's useless. This kid will definitely die today. If you watch from the side, we won't do anything to you. But if you dare to help this kid, I'll destroy your soul. A cold voice rang out. Lin Xian also turned his head. He said, Senior, there's no need to take the risk for me. The Soul Sage Monarch shook his head, I'm very disappointed in the Killer Temple. They don't even protect a genius like you. How disappointing. Young man, I have high hopes for you, so I'm prepared to help you. With that, he brought those people to Lin Xian's side. Since they don't know what's good for them, I'll fulfill their wish. The undead race roared. Their eyes had long turned red. Kill! With a roar, these people attacked fiercely. A great battle broke out instantly. Raging flames burned the sky, laws danced, and thunder fell. In an instant, a terrifying power shook the surroundings. At this moment, countless people sensed it. They raised their heads and looked into the distant sky, sucking in a cold breath. Who's fighting? They only dared to watch such a terrifying scene from afar. They didn't dare to get close at all. This battle was terrifying. Although Lin Xian had the Soul Sage Monarch and the others on his side, the difference between Elder Yin and the undead race was too great. The difference was 10 times. It was even 20 times. Lin Xian appeared and disappeared like a ghost. With the Azura sword art, each sword could pierce through 100 saints. But it was still useless. These people seemed to have gone mad as they attacked non-stop. Lin Xian roared. He didn't hold back. The heaven-devouring jar appeared, and the great dragon sword soul swept in all directions. The battle was abnormally intense. The undead race actually took out a legendary holy weapon. A small cauldron shook heaven and earth. The Great Elder controlled the small cauldron to contend with it. Elder Yin launched a sneak attack and seriously injured the Soul Sage Monarch. The Soul Sage Monarch was also seriously injured. Lin Xian's eyes turned red. He attacked recklessly. The heaven-devouring jar was thrown to the ground by him and crazily devoured the power of heaven and earth. The great dragon sword soul transformed into a true dragon and swept out. Under his reckless attack, the entire world exploded. Damn it, what is this thing? Why do I feel an extremely powerful aura? Run! The Great Elder went crazy, and Elder Yin was also terrified. They led the remaining people and fled. They knew that with this weapon, it would be difficult for them to kill the other party. The Great Elder roared. Go back quickly and ask at least 5 peak Great Sage cultivators to come. Although the other party was strong and had the protection of the extreme Tao, he didn't have much strength left. He could only protect himself now. If they sent 5 peak Great Sage cultivators, they would be enough to suppress the other party. At that time, everything the other party had would be theirs. In an instant, the Great Elder fled with dozens of people. Elder Yin's side was even worse. She only managed to escape with a dozen people with serious injuries. As for the rest, tens of millions of people died here, turning this place into a hell. A sea of blood surged into the sky. Hanya roared. Father! At this moment, the Soul Sage Monarch was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Lin Xian's face was pale, and countless cracks appeared on his body. He looked unusually ferocious. The others were all injured. This battle was a narrow escape. Lin Xian formed hand seals and used the longevity indestructible technique, forming a sword armor that enveloped everyone like a mountain. It provided a powerful vitality. Chapter 50-55. Han Xingjun's aura was very weak. He said, I'm afraid I can't make it. Young Master Lin, please help Ya in the future. Lin Xian shook his head. No, don't worry. You won't die. His eyes flashed. He took out a 10,000-year-old spirit herb from the Sword World's for Spirit Valley. With a wave of his hand, he appeared in the void. Swallow it. Your injuries should be much better. Han Xingjun took a look and shook his head. No need. Young Master Lin, you have to trouble yourself. I know my own injuries. You also walked over. He said, Young Master Lin, we've already given Han Xingjun a lot of heavenly treasures. They were all made of 10,000-year-old spirit herbs or even 20 to 30,000-year-old spirit herbs. But it was useless. Her meaning was clear. The 10,000-year-old spiritual herb that Lin Xian had taken out would definitely not have any effect. However, Lin Xian smiled. How would you know if you don't try? Hanya, give it to your father. Hanya took it and said, Father, take it. It's young Master Lin's kind intentions. Han Xingjun swallowed the 10,000-year-old spirit herb. However, he didn't have any hope. But when he swallowed it, he was stunned. What was going on? He was dumbfounded because he felt a powerful life force enveloping his body. Was this really a 10,000-year-old spirit herb? He looked at Lin Xian in disbelief. Lin Xian nodded. That's right. It was a 10,000-year-old spirit herb. Father, how are you feeling? Hanya, you, and the others also walked over and asked with concern. Han Xingjun said, What a strong medicinal power. I can feel my injuries recovering quickly. Thank you, young Master Lin, for saving my life. Yu Tingho was also stunned. What? A 10,000-year-old spirit herb cured Han Xingjun. This was too unbelievable. How could he know that Lin Xian took out a 10,000-year-old spirit herb? It was a 10,000-year-old spirit herb that grew in the Sword World. The Sword World was formed by the power of many worlds. In addition, the world itself had no gods, so a 10,000-year-old spirit herb grew here. It was a 50,000-year-old spirit herb outside. In addition, the Soul Sage Monarch had swallowed many pills in the past. This set of 50,000-year-old spiritual medicines had directly improved his condition. However, if he wanted to fully recover, he would need to recuperate properly. Lin Xian smiled and said, Senior, you are too polite. It was you who brought people to save me from danger. I should be thanking you. Lin Xian was very grateful for the man's actions. There were many people who would add flowers to a brocade, but the real help was the one who offered help. Moon and the others were stunned. This young Master Lin before them had given them an unprecedented shock. Previously, when they were on a mission with Lin Xian, they had thought that Lin Xian was a coward who was afraid of running away. But now, it seemed that this was not the case at all. Lin Xian had displayed his formidable strength and was able to take out such a miraculous elixir with a wave of his hand. The other party was like a cloud of fog, making it impossible for them to see clearly. This young man before them probably had more trump cards than their sacred army. The Soul Sage Lord's complexion recovered a little. He asked, What will you do next? It wouldn't take long for them to arrive. We have to leave quickly. Lin Xian nodded and the group flew into the distance. But not long after, an extremely terrifying aura appeared between heaven and earth. The 5 pinnacle great sage of the undead race had joined forces. They stood tall in the 9 heavens. At this moment, the people of the underworld were alarmed. Oh heavens, what happened? The undead race had sent out 5 pinnacle great sage. It was said that they were trying to kill Lin Wudi. Countless shocked voices sounded. Elder Yin and the others were also secretly observing. They believed that the other party was definitely dead this time. Not good, the Soul Sage Lord was in despair. Moon Soul Cliff and the others were also pale and trembling. They couldn't withstand such a lineup, let alone 5 pinnacle great sage. Even a pinnacle great sage could defeat all of them. In this situation, there was no doubt that they would die. Was it time to fight? Lin Xian probed the power of the sword world and took a deep breath. With his trump cards, whether it was the heaven-devouring jar or the great dragon sword spirit, it was impossible to defeat the other party if he went all out. But if he wanted to escape, it shouldn't be a problem. In that case, let's fight. Lin Xian took a step forward and an extremely sharp light burst out. Facing 5 Pinnacle Great Sage, he was still not afraid. Undead race, I will remember you. When I return in the future, I will definitely destroy the 4 spirits race. You want to have a future? Ridiculous. The 5 Pinnacle Great Sage in the sky snorted. They looked down as if gods were looking at ants. Today, none of you can leave. Once the 5 Pinnacle Great Sage attacked, they would definitely not let them live. Attack. The 5 Pinnacle Great Sage were like 5 gods. Their aura swept across the 9 heavens. At this moment, heaven and earth shattered. The Soul Sage army and the others couldn't resist at all. They could only retreat and vomit blood. Endless black vortexes appeared beside Lin Xian. He roared angrily, wanting to activate the power of this world and take out his strongest trump card. However, at this moment, there was a big hand in the sky that shrouded down. It directly enveloped the 5 Pinnacle Great Sage. Who is it? The 5 Pinnacle Great Sage roared angrily. Their fists rose, and endless divine light pierced through the 9 heavens. He fought against the hand of the heavens. Loud noises sounded. Everyone retreated. Lin Xian also frowned. Was there a change? He didn't act rashly. Instead, he retreated to a distance to watch the battle. Who dares to interfere in our business? The undead race roared crazily. The battle just now made them shocked. At this moment, figures appeared in all directions. There were 10 figures, standing in the 9 heavens. Each of their aura was not weaker than the 5 Pinnacle Great Sage. Those who were watching the battle from afar exclaimed. These were the 10 kings of hell. Oh heavens, they actually appeared as well. Were they also here to capture Lin Wudi? Countless exclamations sounded. One Lin Wudi was enough to make the entire hell go crazy. Whether it was the Pinnacle Great Sage or the 10 kings of hell, they were all the top figures in hell. The members of the Dead Spirit clan furrowed their brows tightly. 10 kings of hell, what do you mean? Are you going to help this kid? King Qingguang said coldly. We are entrusted to protect young Master Lin's safety. That's right. King Songdi also nodded. The other 10 kings of hell stood out one after another, claiming that they would protect Lin Xian. This caused everyone in the underworld to be stunned. Oh God, what's going on? Even Lin Xian was stunned. What's going on? The 10 kings of hell had sent countless assassins to assassinate him. But now, the leaders of the 10 kings of hell wanted to protect him. They didn't even hesitate to become enemies with the undead race. Damn it, why? The undead race experts roared crazily. Chapter 50-56. Han Xingjun and the others were stunned. Lin Xian was so influential that he could get the 10 kings of hell to come out together. They looked at each other, feeling incredulous. Lin Xian was also stunned. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be old Xia? He came to the underworld with Xia Jiuyo. Later on, Xia Jiuyo left after he recovered some vitality. Now that such a scene had happened, Lin Xian thought about it. It was probably related to Xia Jiuyo, right? In front, the great sage of the undead spirit race gritted his teeth and asked. I want to know, who could make all of you come out together? Even if he died, he wanted to know why. King Qingguang said coldly. It was a senior, an existence that you can't afford to offend. The pupils of the undead spirit race's experts shrank. They knew that it was impossible to kill Lin Xian today. It seemed that they could only find another opportunity in the future. He snorted and waved his hand. Let's go. The 5 great sage turned and left. The experts of the undead spirit race retreated. Those who were watching the battle from afar were stunned. They didn't expect that a certain death situation would be resolved once again. The 10 kings of hell looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian cupped his fists and thanked the seniors for their help. King Qingguang smiled. Young man, you don't have to thank us. We were also entrusted by others. Goodbye. The figures of the 10 kings of hell slowly disappeared between heaven and earth. Young Master Lin, you have such an identity. Why didn't you say so earlier? Hanya and the others also heaved a sigh of relief. You, on the other hand, was complaining. Lin Xian smiled bitterly. To be honest, I didn't know that such a situation would happen. All right. Seeing the puzzled look in their eyes, Lin Xian waved his hand and took them away. When they arrived at a safe place, he asked. Next, I'm going to leave the underworld. The world is vast and I'm not afraid of the undead spirit race. Moreover, I'm not from the underworld. At this point, he looked at Hun Xingjun and the others. But what about you? You're from the underworld. The undead spirit race will definitely not let you go. Moreover, the Killing Sage Hall will probably make a move on you too. The Soul Sage Lord took in a deep breath and looked at the surrounding killer saints. He said that he had implicated them. Sage, please don't say it like that. You've always taken care of us like this. At the crucial moment, we naturally have to follow the sage. You also said, Sage, what do you think we should do? We follow the sage. Soul Sage Lord stood up, looked at the starry sky, and sighed. Although the underworld was terrifying, it was still just a galaxy in the universe. Aside from the underworld, I also want to experience the vastness of the universe. After that, he looked at Lin Xian and said, I'm willing to follow young master to the ancient primeval city. Lin Xian was equally shocked. Even though the Soul Sage and the others weren't at the pinnacle of the Great Sage, they weren't weak either. Moreover, these people were all assassins and had all kinds of assassination methods. If he could use it, it would be an extremely terrifying force. His divine union needed this kind of power. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous as he said solemnly. If Senior wishes to follow me, I will not let you down. Good, from today onwards, we will respect young master. The Soul Sage Lord said in a deep voice. You and the others gasped. Was Lin Wudi the Lord of Martial Arts? They didn't dare to believe it. Even though Lin Wudi was strong now, he still couldn't beat a sage. However, the Soul Sage Lord had his own thoughts. He was indeed stronger than Lin Xian now, but so what? He was a sage, while Lin Xian was only a sage ruler. How many realms were there between the two of them? If Lin Xian became a great sage, he would probably be stronger than the Soul Sage Lord. Therefore, following a young great emperor like Lin Xian wouldn't be at a disadvantage. On the contrary, he would have unparalleled glory in the future. Alright, there's no time to lose. Let's go. Lin Xian took out the black earth. With a wave of his hand, he led everyone onto the spirit ship. Then, he slowly left. The news about the 5 pinnacle great sage, Lin Wudi, and the 10 kings of hell spread like wildfire. In an instant, the news spread throughout the entire infernal realm. Countless people were shocked. They didn't expect that the 5 pinnacle great sage couldn't do anything to Lin Wudi. In the end, the 10 kings of hell had to give him face. It was unbelievable. At the same time, a legend began to spread in the underworld. It was about the younger generation. Previously, the number 1 of the younger generation had been changing places. It was either the Dead Souls Abyss or 2 other people. But now, it was no longer these people. Instead, it was replaced by a new name. It was Lin Wudi. Lin Xian's previous battle results had directly pushed him to the top. Countless people looked at the list in shock. Lin Wudy. This was the existence they would look up to in their lives. Even the second and third place felt inferior. At the same time, another piece of news came. It was about the most dangerous people in the underworld that they could not afford to offend. Other than those terrifying and famous sect masters and patriarchs, another young name appeared on the list. It was Lin Wudy. Provoking him was equivalent to offending the 10 kings of hell. Who dared to provoke such an existence? When the Dead Souls race heard the news, they were shocked. There was even a trace of despair in their eyes. It would be harder for them to take revenge in the future. A pinnacle great sage gritted his teeth and said, Yuan had a fiancée when he was alive. Go and pass the news to her. The people from Assassin Divine Palace were equally shocked. Especially the deputy palace master, his face was gloomy. At this moment, he hated Elder Ian to the core. The things that Elder Ian had told him previously made him feel that Lin Xian was dispensable. He could even kill him easily. But now, the strength and value that Lin Xian had displayed were too great. But they had become enemies with him. In fact, the Soul Sage Monarch, as well as all of the Soul Slayers, had vanished without a trace. This was a huge loss to the Assassin Divine Palace. But they couldn't be angry. They could only sulk. Elder Ian and the rest felt their scalps go numb. They didn't dare to go back in the short term. They could only wait outside. The deputy palace master's anger had subsided. When the Blood Fury Saint heard about this, he was also stunned. Lin Xian had such an identity and background. Linglong Shuel looked at her father and sighed. From the looks of it, his father seemed to have missed out on a great opportunity. An opportunity to follow the young great emperor was missed just like that. News and legends about Lin Wudy spread throughout the underworld. Until many years later, Lin Xian was still a legend. Holy Abyss Ancient City. The 3 great orthodoxies would have new geniuses enter every year. The new generation would replace the old. Now, in the past 10 years, there were some top geniuses who rose. Their cultivation wasn't strong, but their strength was terrifying. Some had super powerful bloodlines. Some had great opportunities and obtained heaven-defying weapons. There were also people who could use terrifying lost techniques. In short, these people stood out and overshadowed some of the older geniuses. The Dao sect situation had also changed greatly. The Dragon Palace, which had been silent back then, shone brightly once again. Chapter 50-57. Previously, the Dragon Palace had been suppressed by Lin Xian and the Divine Union, especially during the Grand Meet. They were so suppressed that they could not even lift their heads. Later on, the Dragon Prince was poisoned by the Great Dao, and the situation was very dangerous. The Dragon Palace had been in despair for a time, and their morale was at its lowest. However, the situation had changed. The Dragon Prince had obtained the Sacred Tree of Life, and his injuries had healed. His cultivation had even improved by a level. Now, he was almost at the top of the Holy Gulf Tower. It was said that the people in the nest of 10,000 dragons were preparing to crown the Dragon Prince as a king. Once they succeeded, the Dragon Prince would be the second top genius to be crowned as a king. At that time, the other party would not be weaker than Kunping-zi, and the Battle of the Emperor Road might even be brought forward. The Dragon Prince's strength made the Dragon Palace dazzle again. Over the past decade, the geniuses had joined the Dragon Palace, wanting to follow the Dragon Prince. Today was another day for the 3 great orthodoxies to recruit geniuses. The entire holy distant ancient city was bustling, and countless young geniuses had entered. The 3 great orthodoxies had also sent people to recruit them. On the heaven sect side, a beautiful woman in white stood there, attracting countless gazes. Young master, I see that you are outstanding, and your expression is extraordinary. Why don't you join the heaven sect's test? The woman in white looked over and saw a figure in the crowd. She immediately walked over, revealing a smile. The surrounding people were stunned, and for a moment, many people said with red faces, I'm willing to join the heaven sect's test. Very good. The woman in white smiled, and then stared at the figure in front of her. What about you? The man in front of her looked young and handsome. He was dressed in a black robe, and there was no terrifying aura around him. However, his eyes were firm. Based on the woman in white's experience, he was definitely an expert. Lin Xian looked ahead, narrowed his eyes, and sighed. Oh, it was time for the three great orthodoxies to recruit geniuses again. It really made people sigh. He had been away for more than 10 years, and he wondered how those people were doing. Hey, our senior sister is talking to you. The people from the heaven sect were unhappy. Lin Xian was surprised. He looked at these people and said, You don't know me. A young man said, Who are you? Are you famous? Why should we know you? Even the white-clothed woman was good. Lin Xian sighed. From the looks of it, these people must have joined after he left for more than 10 years. He had probably only heard of Lin Wudi in Mad God, but had never seen him in person. That was probably why she didn't recognize him. Thinking of this, he said, Thank you for your kind intentions, but I want to return to the Dao sect. Dao sect. Hearing this, the smile on the woman's face disappeared. Those from the Sky sect also frowned and walked away. Said someone coldly. Humph, another naive guy. Did he really think that the Dragon Prince could be crowned king? This guy definitely wanted to follow the Dragon Prince, but it was too late. So what if the Dragon Prince was crowned king? Our Kuan Pengzi successfully did it more than 10 years ago. Now, his strength was even more unfathomable, far beyond what the Dragon Prince could fathom. These people were very angry. Because of the Dragon Prince, all the geniuses who had participated in the test in recent years had gone to the True Path sect. The number of geniuses they recruited was much smaller than before. That was why they had come out this time to rope in those young geniuses. But by the looks of it, the results didn't seem to be good. Lin Xian also heard these people's discussion and narrowed his eyes. He followed the Dragon Prince. What a joke. But he didn't say much. Just wait and see. There would definitely be a battle between him and the Dragon Prince. After leaving this place, Lin Xian walked towards the Dao sect. The Dao sect was indeed filled with people. Countless geniuses were waiting there. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. When Lin Xian arrived, some people said, Brother, line up behind. You're late. You have to stand behind. Voices rang out one after another. Some people even said, Brother, how should I address you? Hey, what are you talking to this guy about? Is this guy famous? His aura doesn't seem that strong. Some people looked at him in disdain. Lin Xian, on the other hand, walked straight ahead. Under the angry gazes of countless people, he came to the front and continued to walk. Hold it. There were guards in front of him blocking his path. Those behind him sneered. Is this guy stupid? Who does he think he is? Does he want to go in directly? Yes, the test hasn't started yet. He will definitely be beaten back. These people looked like they were watching a show. Lin Xian was speechless. Why didn't he come back for so many years? Even these people don't recognize him anymore. He waved his hand and took out a token. I'm from the Dao sect. Everyone was stunned, and the smiles on the faces of those who had been sneering disappeared as well. The two guards in front quickly bowed. "Greetings, senior brother. Please forgive us, senior brother. We just joined the Dao sect recently." They recognized that Lin Xian's token was the one from more than 10 years ago. This was obviously their senior brother. Lin Xian nodded. "No worries." Then, he walked in. The people behind him gasped. "Damn, this guy is from the Dao sect. This is our future senior brother. I was almost fooled by him. Luckily, I didn't offend him. Otherwise, I would be dead." These people were scared. They didn't expect Lin Xian to have such a terrifying identity even though he didn't have any aura. The eyes of the young girls turned red. "He's so handsome. Why didn't I talk to him just now? Maybe he can take me in. I heard that the Dragon Palace is going to hold a martial arts grand meeting. I wonder if the test will end early after we enter. I don't want to miss such a grand meeting." Some people felt it was a pity. When they wanted to find Lin Xian again, they found that Lin Xian had already entered the Dao sect. After entering, Lin Xian found that it was also lively inside. After asking around, he found out that the Dragon Palace was going to hold a martial arts grand meeting. They were going to invite all the geniuses in the ancient city to discuss martial arts. It seems like they want to crown the Dragon Prince and build momentum in advance. They can't wait any longer. Looks like I have to speed up. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He found a secluded place. He formed a seal with his palms. Demon Shadow. He used a great magic to form an avatar. The avatar was dressed in a black robe and was surrounded by black gas. Lin Xian gave the token to the other party. His real body turned into a flash of light and disappeared. He was going to the Sacred Abyss Tower. With his current strength, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach the peak of the Sacred Abyss Tower. Coronation. He wanted to let everyone know that the Emperor could do it. He could do it too. He could even do it better. Lin Xian's avatar walked toward the Dragon Palace. Chapter 50-58. The Dragon Palace was unusually lively. Countless geniuses had already arrived. Some of them were outstanding, while others had terrifying auras. Some gathered together to chat. Some even exploded with terrifying killing intent the moment they saw each other. Obviously, they had been enemies before. However, they didn't attack directly. After all, they had come to the Dragon Palace this time. They had to respect the dragons. Therefore, both sides snorted and retreated to the side. Among the many geniuses, there were a few who were extremely dazzling. One of them strode over. His gait was majestic, and his eyes shone with terrifying light. Countless people looked over. This person was none other than Long Ao. As the second genius of the Dragon Palace, his strength and talent were terrifying. He was second only to the Dragon Prince. At this moment, Long Ao exuded the aura of a dragon god. Beside him was a beautiful woman. Lan Xiu. Her aura had also undergone an earth-shattering change. Because she had followed Long Ao, she was qualified to enter the core area and receive guidance from the True Path sect elders. Therefore, she was now considered a top expert of the Dragon Palace. The Blue Clan had also arrived. They looked at Lan Xiu and nodded in satisfaction. Because of Lan Xiu, they were now in an alliance with the Dragon Palace. Even their status had changed. This was all because of Lan Xiu. They had already appointed Lan Xiu as the young clan leader of the Blue Clan. He would take over the Blue Clan in the future. This time, it wasn't just the True Path sect and the other ancient clans. There were also people from the Sky sect and the Earth sect. On the Sky sect side, 5 people walked over. They were 5 brothers, and their auras were terrifying. Each of them carried a long sword on their back. The biting cold sword intent made everyone's scalp tingle. Swordsmen from the Sky sect. These 5 were extremely famous top swordsmen. Each of them had strong individual combat strength. When the 5 of them worked together, they could form a terrifying killing sword formation. Challenging those of a higher level was a piece of cake. The Earth Sect's people were also here. For example, the Overlord and the others were here. It could be said that this gathering was a gathering of people. Lord Wudao of the Yi clan had arrived. A voice came from outside. Countless people turned to look. Was Yi Wudao here? He was also a top genius. His status was no weaker than Long Ao's. Therefore, countless people were paying special attention. Long Ao also personally went out to welcome him. Leaf Dao Denier's aura was even more terrifying than before, making him seem like a young Grand Emperor. His every move made the others feel fearful. Even Long Ao squinted his eyes. This guy definitely cultivated the Great Emperor's ancient scripture. He wondered what level he had reached in his cultivation. Thinking of this, he felt a burst of envy. Because the dragons had the Dragon Prince, no matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to cultivate the complete ancient scripture. He could only cultivate 1 or 2 of the Great Emperor's divine abilities. But Leaf Dao Denier was different. The Leaf clan had no imperial son, and as a top genius, he was qualified to cultivate the ancient scripture of the earth. This kind of treatment indeed made Long Ao's eyes red with envy. Young Master Yi, a rare guest. Long Ao laughed. Leaf Dao Denier nodded and walked in. Of course, he hadn't come alone, but rather, had brought a few people with him. When he saw these people, Long Ao's face became a little gloomy. This was because the people following Yi Wudao were from the Divine Union. Crimson Divine Dragon, Toad, Bai Susu, Fu Hongye. These people had followed Lin Xian back to the Bronze Immortal Hole. Later, Lin Xian had stayed in the underworld for a long time, and these people had discussed returning together. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a handsome guy before? Toad snorted coldly. The others were also in an uproar. The people of the Divine Union actually dared to come out. I think they are here to die. Someone sneered. Long Ao was instantly furious. He stared at these people and said coldly, "Men, take them down." The surrounding experts of the Dragon Palace stood up one after another, and a terrifying aura swept across the 9 heavens. The Crimson Divine Dragon roared. This dragon had never been afraid of anyone. He also roared, and dragon blood appeared. Yi Wudao said with his hands behind his back. Why? Is this how the Dragon Palace treats its guests? This is the martial arts conference. You invited all the geniuses in the world, right? Why can't they come? The tolerance of the Dragon Palace is too small. When these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. Yi Wudao was indeed on the side of the Divine Union. Long Ao's face was also cold. Young Master Yi, this is the Dragon Palace, not the territory of the Yi family. Yi Wudao's eyes shone brightly. Are you warning me? Then let's see if you are qualified to warn me. Yi Wudao took a step forward, and the power in his body exploded. At this moment, everyone felt like their bodies were about to split open. Long Ao's face also changed. Yi Wudao had not shown any aura before, but once he used this power, it made his scalp go numb. However, he was also a top expert with the ancient body. How could he be afraid of Yi Wudao? Moreover, his cultivation had improved over the years, and he had even cultivated the mystique of the Great Emperor. Naturally, he was not afraid of Yi Wudao. Then let me experience young Master Ye's ultimate skill. Long Ao exuded a terrifying killing intent. The others were also shocked. Was the battle going to be brought forward? Stop. Long Ao, let them in. In the distance, an old man walked out. It was an elder of the Thousand Dragon Court. This gathering was a chance for them to build momentum for the Dragon Prince. Before it started, it would not be good for them to have an early battle. Therefore, they stopped the battle directly. Yes, old Zhang, I know. Long Ao nodded. He knew the importance of this gathering, so he did not dare to be presumptuous. He snorted coldly. You guys can go in. Yi Wudao, the battle between us is only temporary. There will be a battle sooner or later. Yi Wudao walked past him and said indifferently. My target is not you, but your Dragon Prince. The crowd was in an uproar. Indeed, martial artists also wanted to go down the path of the great emperor. Long Ao's face turned ugly. Was Yi Wudao looking down on him? Damn it. If he had the chance, he would not let Yi Wudao go. Yi Wudao and the others were invited in and sat down. The others also took their seats. The elder of the Thousand Dragon Court walked out and said with a smile, Thank you all for coming to the martial arts gathering of the dragons. Let me give you a toast. The elder took out a spirit wine and drank it in one gulp. Since the elder was so polite, the other geniuses did not dare to be careless. They all drank. Elder Long of the Thousand Dragon Court smiled. This gathering was to tell everyone that the Dragon Prince was going to be crowned. It would not be long before the Dragon Prince was going to be crowned king. He hoped that everyone would not miss such a grand event. Countless people were surprised. Although they had heard the news before, it was still shocking to hear it from the Elder of the Dragons. Has the Dragon Prince reached the peak? It was faster than they had imagined. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.